Live from Burbank, the media capital of the world.
To participate in the general public comment period, please call now at 818-238-3335. For any scheduled public hearings, please call when prompted to speak if you want the comment to be part of the record. Speaking times will be determined by the total number of public comment cards and callers in the queue at the start of each public comment period. For 1 to 20 total speakers, each speaker will receive up to 3 minutes. For 21 to 39 total speakers, each speaker will receive up to 2 minutes. And for 40 plus total speakers, each speaker will receive up to 1 minute. No additional comment cards or calls will be accepted once the public comment period begins.
Interpreters are available for assistance with in-person public comment. Please connect with them if you are in need of services. Hay servicios de interpretación disponibles para asistir con los comentarios públicos en persona. Por favor, habla con un intérprete si necesita estos servicios.
Եթե տեղում մեկնաբանություն եք անում թարգմանիչի կարիք ունեք, միացեք թարգմանչի հետ օգնության համար։
Good evening and welcome to a joint meeting of the Burbank City Council with the Housing Authority on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Happy holidays, everybody. Now, please join me for a moment of reflection. This moment is intended to begin our meeting with a positive and collective support for our beloved community. The City Council welcomes everyone joining us this evening. We encourage you to take a moment to reflect on our community and the work we will be doing tonight. Although each one of us has our own unique reasons for being here, we are united in our passion for our wonderful city. As we pause, let us consider our individual contributions and what they mean to those around us. Let us find solace in knowing that by working together with a shared spirit of community and partnership, we will always act responsibly for the betterment of Burbank. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How are you doing this evening, Madam City Clerk?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Madam Mayor?
Couldn't be better.
Terrific.
Can you please call the roll?
Well, I will ensure. Councilmember Anthony?
Here.
Councilmember Mullins?
Here.
Councilmember Rosati?
I am here.
Vice Mayor Takahashi?
Here.
And Mayor Press.
And for the first time, we are all here.
Thank you. Yes, it's true. That's true.
Normally, we have a little competition going on where some of us say here and some of us say present, but we're in synchronization today. There will be 4 periods of public comment tonight, and members of the public may comment in person or by telephone during the general public comment period, and must submit cards or call before the comment period begins. And you can do so right here to our lovely city clerk. And the first comment period is for general comment on any matter concerning city business and/or any agenda item. Now, if you're here in person and wish to speak during the general public comment, you should submit a yellow comment card like what is happening right now. If you would like to participate in the general public comment over the phone, please call now at 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue until the general comment period begins, at which time no additional calls will be taken. If you'd like to participate in the public comment for the public hearing over the phone, please call anytime between now and the beginning of the public hearing at that same number, 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue until that public comment period begins, and no additional callers will be taken at that time. Additional comment periods are available following each report to council this evening, and interpreters are available for folks who may require assistance in Spanish and Armenian right here in the front corner. If you need assistance, please speak to them before the beginning of the comment period, and if they have not received any requests, I will let them go home when the public comment period begins. All right. Now tonight, we will be adjourning in memory of Salvador Moreno, Jr., who passed away on Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. He was 97 years old and just 2 months shy of his 98th birthday. Sal, also known as Bacho, was born in El Paso, Texas. He was one of 9 children, and he graduated from Bowie High School in 1945 and joined the U.S. Navy in 1945. After the war, he followed his family to Burbank, California, which became his forever home. He worked for the City of Burbank Public Works Department for 42 years. He started in trash collection and went on into construction maintenance before transferring to field engineering in 1956. He retired as a field engineering supervisor, chief surveyor, on January 12, 1990. His legacy is imprinted throughout the city. He was the party chief responsible for the preliminary and construction survey for the Burbank Water Reclamation Plant in 1966. He worked on the Alameda Avenue bridges and the railroad bridge in 1964. He did the storm drain preliminary survey for the 1968 LA County Flood Control District storm drain bond issues, and he was assigned to many street widenings, sanitary sewer projects, and various road improvements, as well as the hills surrounding the DeBell Golf Course, where he spent many of his years on retirement. He and his crew did the surveying of the San Fernando Boulevard when it was closed for the Golden Mall, and he was part of the team that reopened it again. He even worked on the city's first ever mall, the Burbank Town Center. And if he was here tonight, he'd tell me exactly where we need to repave. He was a volunteer and spent 34 years as a member of the Burbank Kiwanis. His greatest love of all was his family, whom he cherished with all of his heart. He met his wife of 75 years in 1948. They married 2 years later in July of 1950. They built a life together and had 7 children, 6 girls and 1 boy. That family would grow to include 10 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren. On behalf of the Burbank City Council, I would like to express my deepest condolences to Sal's family who are here with us this evening. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your dad with us for so many years. We really appreciate it. Thank you. On that lovely note, we have 5 announcements this evening.
The following are announcements for December 9th, 2025. The City of Burbank is moving into the next phase of community engagement for the potential new Central Library and Public Plaza and invites residents to take part in the ongoing series of community workshops and town hall meetings. These events offer opportunities to learn more about the project, ask questions, and share ideas that will help shape the early vision for this future civic space. Planning and engagement will continue through 2026, with next steps guided by community input and City Council approval. The second community workshop will be held on Thursday, December 11th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Burbank Central Library. For more information, visit newburbanklibrary.com. Burbank Fire Department's Spark of Love Toy Drive has kicked off. Donations are being accepted from now until December 24th. Drop off new, unwrapped toys at any local fire station or donate online at supportlafd.kindful.com. Help make this holiday season shine for children and families in need. Planning to travel? Please ensure your passport book or card is valid. You can schedule an appointment online with the Burbank Passport Facility at burbankca.gov/passport. For more information or to check walk-in availability, please contact the Burbank City Clerk's Office at 818-238-5851 or email cityclerks@burbankca.gov. Free grocery distribution is available every Thursday at the Burbank Community YMCA, 321 East Magnolia Boulevard, through the YMCA's Feed LA program. All are welcome. The YMCA is also accepting donations of non-perishable food items to support local families. For more information, visit ymcala.org/feedla or call 323-244-9077. The Burbank Temporary Aid Center, BTAC, is adding a new service day for housed low-income clients. Beginning Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, BTAC will be open on the first Saturday of each month from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. For more information, visit burbanktemporaryaidcenter.org. This concludes the announcements for this evening.
All right, we have one presentation to council this evening, and our presentation is of a certificate of recognition to the Magnolia Park Merchants Association for their outstanding contribution to Holiday in the Park. I would like to invite Key to the City recipient, Ross Benson, to join me. And the fabulous Vice President, Mr. Jeff Ferguson, to join me as well. Now I'm going to invite you both to say a few words and invite any board members, and you're both looking very festive this evening.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, City Council. Happy holidays. I am the president of Magnolia Park Merchants, one of the other hats that I wear around this community. And we have created last year, when the PBID did not go through because of economic times, we created our own 501c3. And with that, we are calling it Magnolia Park Events. And that's who put on Holiday in the Park this year. And I'm going to hand the mic over to, as a president always does, to his right-hand man, and Jeff is my right-hand man. Everything you saw, I will say, was almost done by him. We have some of our some of our committee members with us today that, I'll tell you, if you look at their hands, they probably still have chalk on them from chalking Magnolia from Hollywood Way to Buena Vista. That's a mile of sitting on your knees, chalking lines. Holiday in the Park was very successful this year. We estimated we had over 50,000 people attend. This year we had a lot of new things that we added. We added such as handicap parking. We had shuttle service that we had donated to us to help people get there. We added a quiet hour for people that are very sensitive the first hour of the event. And I'll let Jeff talk about a couple other things that we've done.
Thank you, Russ. And I couldn't have done it without you. Obviously, the Acadia City. I did want to bring up another important member to it, Toby Black. Come on up, Toby. Toby is the secretary for Magnolia Park Events. Yeah, if you're around Burbank at all, you probably recognize Toby. She's heavily involved as well, and somehow I hooked her into joining the board of directors for Magnolia Park Events. So, and another invaluable team member of this one. As Ross mentioned, the event itself, Holiday in Park, was bigger and better than ever. We had over 250 vendors, over 30 food trucks, over almost 70 car show participants. 50,000 people kind of showed up, and actually wanted to make sure I give a shout out to Ellen Rehack, who's in the front here, right here, because a lot of the new ideas for this year, as far as just having dining tables, which we've never had before, or the shuttle service, or a lot of other ones were actually her ideas after seeing it kind of unfold from the first year that we did it in 2024. So big thanks to her for getting that in motion. And then it was just a matter of making it all happen. So we're already planning for next year. We're actually already planning for our next big event called Celebrate Burbank, which will take place in May. And yeah, he'll love it. And one of the cool things that we get to do this time is, as Ross mentioned, the P-bid didn't go through, and so we don't have that revenue coming into Magnolia Park that we planned, so we decided to do it ourselves. So next week we're going to have a very fun announcement as a big donation that's actually going to go back into the neighborhood, which is the first time ever we've done that. So we're very proud of that fact. So.
I just want to say thank you to both of you. I think one of the most important aspects, and it's one of our city council goals, is quality of life. And these events are the heartbeat of that. Quality of life for our residents, for folks who live here, who just want to have an event to go to spend time with their families. And you executed that flawlessly for 50,000 of us. So thank you for that. There was not a piece of trash on the street the next morning. It looked like nothing had ever happened.
I will say I did not leave until after midnight, and that street was cleaner than when, if you recall, it rained the night before. That street was left cleaner than we found it when we started lining the street.
That is very true. So we hope we have you all doing events for years to come. Thank you. And so I have this in recognition of your outstanding contributions to Holiday in the Park. This year's event was full of festive holiday cheer, exciting performances, and plenty of shopping. On behalf of the Burbank City Council, thank you for all you did to make this year's event a success, and we will see you next year.
Well, the last thing I'd like to say, Mayor, is shop Magnolia Park.
Yes.
You know, little businesses with the economy now and what's going on with studios and so forth, that's why we put on Holiday in the Park. We brought 50,000 people to the businesses in Magnolia Park. That's why we're going to do an event come next May. We hope to bring another 50,000 to Magnolia Park. Shop small, shop Magnolia Park, help those businesses survive. That's what our goal is.
Thank you. Congrats again, y'all, and thank you for everything you do. Spreading holiday cheer in this last meeting. All right, Mr. City Manager, anything to report?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do have one item. I'd like to call up our police chief to provide an update on our police camera system.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, staff, Rafael Quintero, Police Chief. Before I go into the features and safeguards of our flock system, I want to acknowledge that we understand the concerns that you, as well as us, have been receiving from the community related to ICE And specifically as far as if we share any data that is retrieved from the system and then how it is actually used. And I can tell you firsthand that we do not share any data with ICE, nor does ICE, HSI, or Border Patrol have access to any flock data. My intent tonight is to ensure transparency, clarify how the system works, and address any misconceptions. Firmly believe that this technology, when used responsibly, will and has solved multiple amounts of crimes and also provided investigative leads solved that otherwise we would not have had. And not only that, but also has it saved us the amount of time that we normally would have had to invest with people in just manual hours, just via the use of technology. So providing a quick overview of some of the key points is how the system operates. So background. We have had Alper technology, or otherwise known as automated license plate reader technology, for over a decade. Flock is our current system in place. It replaced Vigilant, which was our older system. In 2023, we piloted a program with Flock, specifically to address certain high crime trend areas that were happening, or certain trends that we were addressing associated with high crime in certain areas. Based on the success of that program, in 24-25, we allocated, or council allocated in the 24-25 budget, $150,000 not to exceed for additional deployment of Flock cameras. As far as the data sharing associated with this, as I already mentioned, we do not share any information with ICE, HSI, or CBP. I actually got on the phone with a Flock rep this week, and they confirmed that they do not have a contract with ICE. And then, on top of that, that they have, I'll call it a geofence within the state of California, if that's even possible, to ensure that there is no sharing with anyone outside of California, and that we, or Flock, abides by not only California state law, but also by local policies in those that have contracts with ICE. Some of the benefits that we have seen with Flock, so over the course of just the short amount of time, in 2 years, we've seen 80 plus stolen vehicle recovered, over 200 criminal arrests made. A lot of those you have seen, we have highlighted via press releases, those crimes associated with South American theft groups, organized retail crime groups, and then other crimes including burglaries within the city that we have had. In addition, we've also recovered, because of the use of that system, leads that have resulted in at least 6 gun arrests. Some of the concerns that I know I get questions, I'm sure you do too, as far as how this information is shared. What does encryption actually mean? Considering I don't have a technical background, that portion, I am going to read exactly what that means. So you will often hear a term referred to, data encrypted, AES 256. What that means is information is collected by the automated license plate reader camera, protected using one of the strongest encryption methods available, and storing that information follows internationally recognized security standards. The other part of that is Flock adheres to Federal Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Secure by Design cybersecurity standards. And what that means is the company that makes the system designs its equipment and software with cybersecurity as a priority from the start. And per the rep, to date, they have not been compromised or hacked. I understand, and I'm also aware of videos floating around on YouTube and alleging or making certain assumptions that the system can be hacked. That is the best way that I can describe that, is no different than any device. Take your iPhone, for example. You get initially, it hasn't been programmed with certain security information. You are allowed to encode it in a certain way where it can be compromised. These systems already have those safeguards, those cybersecurity, when we receive them, programmed when they get installed. There is another question that came up as far as there was an article floating around for the Freedom of Information Act. That was in reference to 2023. the Department of Justice sent us a letter, and in that letter they said that we may be sharing some information with ICE. And at that time, the manager associated that was managing the vigilance system determined that yes, in fact, that selection had been made to share outside of state. Now, whether we were sharing with ICE, unknown at the time. I can tell you that we were sharing with states outside of California, which technically is outside of California law. We deactivated that feature. We no longer use Vigilant. Flock is our current system, and Flock has better safety and security safeguards in place to ensure that that does not happen. The other thing is, not only do we run yearly audits, but we also run routine audits on the system to ensure that what happened several years ago does not happen again. As part of all this discussion and doing a deeper dive into Flock, trying to better understand the safety, the privacy, and the security standards that are currently in place, sharing information with council, the commission, and other communities that have called in to ask, we ended up learning as far as there's a feature within Flock that allows us the ability to turn on what's called a transparency option, or a portal via Flock that highlights how the system is used, the data that is captured, and who we share information with. And then like to provide counsel as well as the public. That information resides on, so it's transparency.flocksafety.com/Burbank-CA-PD. We just went live with that today. So you can go on our website, click on the transparency portal, select Flock, and you'll be able to see how many cameras we have, all the agencies that we share within the state of California, and then the policies associated with Flock, if anyone is interested. As well, there was also a letter or a message for me as far as taking transparency, privacy concerns very seriously in mind, and that letter has been shared with you as well. Also like to share it to the greater community so they have a sense of awareness, and other resource links embedded within the file. Real quick, what Flock captures and does not capture. Captures vehicle and license plate only information, no personal identifiers. A question that we often get is the AI feature associated with it. The AI feature is not for any type of facial recognition or any other feature outside of just other than identifying vehicle attributes. So an example would be vehicle is involved in an accident. It has it's a red bumper. So you can actually input those search fields within the car that would give you that specific information. The only information that we receive back from the system is vehicle, the type of model, the license plate, and then any vehicles that are associated with what are called hot lists. Those hot lists are usually associated with wanted criminals, stolen vehicles, or missing persons. The last thing I'll say is we really do remain attentive and responsive to the community. We appreciate all the feedback that we are receiving associated with, and I want to make sure that I am a resource to not only answer questions, but also I think to serve the community and making sure that they have the level of comfort that their police department is really mindful of those things that I just discussed, because the last thing I would want to do is lose anyone's trust. Everything that we do and how we do it is with professionalism in mind to ensure that our community is safe. And with that, any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Mullins?
Thank you. First, I want to thank you for always being available to come to this chamber and be as transparent as anyone can be with everything that you do in the department and keep us informed. Not only being here at the chamber, I also want to thank you for sending us all the email that you sent explaining exactly what you had just talked about today, and the resources that you have with the Flock camera that actually catches the bad guy, where, you know, it's really important that the community understands and hear what you just said today. So I do appreciate your transparency. I appreciate that you're always willing to come here. And one last thing I want to say is to urge anyone out there with wrong information or maybe suspicious information to please send an email. The chief is always available. If you want to email him directly or email council, we send it to staff, and the chief is always available to answer our questions. Because sometimes it gets out of control, and it's good to address it right on. So thank you for being here and always willing to answer these questions.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilor Anthony?
Thank you. I appreciate you coming down and digging into the policy and seeing what is and is not true of what Flock is doing and how they're operating. Outside of California, there's been a handful of cities over the last few weeks and months that have canceled their contracts with Flock, most notably, I believe, Austin, Texas. Has your team at all looked at the allegations that these cities have given as their reasons for cancellations? It seems all of them have come up with something different, and I can't pinpoint one or two that are common, but if it's on your radar at all, maybe reach out to those departments, the police department, see what's going on, why, what's happening, and maybe even figure out what their remediation is, I think. Has that been broached?
Councilmember Anthony, so I appreciate the question. I think that's a fair question to ask, especially given the attention not only across the state, but across the nation associated with the Flock. And there's a reason why Flock, I think that message or information may have or may have not been shared with you, associated with the CEO of Flock is holding 30-minute sessions across the state of California with department heads, command staff, councils, mayors to address questions like yours. So we're currently think that it's been so popular that I was unable to get in on the 3 months, ended up filling out. I'm working with Flock right now to set up a time that works for both of us, and I will bring that up. As far as your question directly, there's only one incident that I'm aware of that Flock highlights on their website with Texas, and that was information that was shared by a certain Texas department that I think lost a little bit of credibility in the relationship between Flock and that agency, because what was stated was not what was actually done or said within the search warrant. That's the only incident that I'm aware of.
Okay. Councilor Rosati.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to say, I want to acknowledge that it probably took 4, 5, 6 hours to put this together. I can see that it was well thought out. There's a lot of research here. I personally think it was unfair that accusations were being made without just knowing up front or asking the question. But I do want to acknowledge that you responded quickly, thoroughly, and I just want to tell you I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman.
No questions? Okay. Chief, I have a couple questions.
Yes, ma'am.
My first one is, can you just reiterate one more time, because I think this is important, and I saw this in your email, and I appreciate you answering my questions there. The FOIA request that we have seen community members bring up, that is from 2023, and it is with a previous vendor, correct?
Correct. So the Freedom of Information Act information that was seen, that's when it first came to light. They had reached out to the Department of Justice and listed, I want to say, over 100 agencies that were sharing information. With the old system, we no longer have Vigilant. The safeguards that are currently in place with Flock were not in place or as well designed within the system as they were. The best way to describe it is it was a checkbox. Back then, it had a manual feature within Vigilant. So the manual feature, because we're using Texas asked for access to us. If it was not appropriately monitored, what would happen is it was up to the user, the manager, the system administrator to just accept or deny. No different than a Teams meeting when someone comes into that meeting and you click accept or deny. This was set up very similar. The safeguards in place are a lot more stringent. So that was the failure point back then. And we had no clue at the time that we were doing it because the audit log that is now in place wasn't as in-depth as it is now.
Thank you. I just want to say, me too. I feel that way too. And thank you for bringing your little one. I know it's not easy. I'm right there with you. So if you need to step out or come back, please feel free. But we're here to help you. And if you want to make public comment later, please feel free as well. I know it's not easy. Going back on that point, I just want to reiterate that because I know I've seen that a page from that request going out and about, and it does list over 100 agencies, including HSI and ICE. So back in the day, back in 2023, when this was newer, it was harder to catch. And now
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
this discussion as an unagendized item needs to be shortened or agendized for a future meeting.
Okay, I'm gonna ask my question because everybody else got to, but I'm gonna finish here. So the checkbox, that is our new model and that aligns with the state of California, what DOJ allows.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And then I had one other question. If folks would like to discuss, because I know we have members of the audience who have further questions, who have information, who have concerns, and I will say valid concerns about Flock, about what is happening right now with immigration, our community is sharing their concerns. And where can they go to reach you? How can they connect with you? What's the best way to get those questions answered so that we and our department is sharing our full transparency?
I will say that depending on how many people are sharing, ideally what I would like to see is a single point of contact. So today I had a conversation with Jennifer Wernick. It was a really good conversation and providing understanding and context associated with some of the operations that have been going on or that the community has seen going on, not only in the city of Burbank, but other cities. We have scheduled a meeting in January. I asked her that to make sure that it stays focused and relevant to the issues at hand, that no more than 3 people sit down with myself and command staff to bring up those concerns. So whether it's that volunteer group, if someone knows who she is, if she can be that platform or voice that communicates others' concerns, when we sit down sometime in January to best address those, and then she can communicate it outward.
I appreciate that, and I think that's important so that we have that ongoing communication between yourself, the department, and the community. Now, if other folks generally, let's say they're not part of the group, but if generally they have questions for you or for the or for PD, what's the best way for them to submit those? Because I know we see a lot on social media. If you ask your question on social media to the air, if you make a concern note on social media, I can promise you it's most likely not going to get addressed. So what's the best way to come forward to you, Chief?
You can go to the website and via the Office of the Chief, there is a general email as far as communicating concerns. I will have my staff compile those emails and then find out the best way to address it. If the themes are relevant and the same, the example that I just used, the reason for placing that flock safety portal on our website is because that's the questions that we've been getting. So hopefully that can answer. If there's a way via our transparency portal to add additional information, flock or otherwise, have no issues or concerns doing that. Even to include, if necessary, a frequently questions asked for the community on anything ICE associated.
Thank you, and to that, I think we should add it to our Know Your Rights page that's going around. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. I know a lot of work goes into this, and I know you don't take it lightly because you want to be transparent, and I appreciate that from you. And I think it was good to have this as part of the manager's report so folks know who are in the audience and who may be wondering at home. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else to report, Mr. City Manager?
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Mr. City Attorney, will you please report on closed session?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, and for the benefit of the public, City Council met at 4 p.m. this afternoon to discuss 3 items in closed session. The first item was a matter of anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2 in the matter of Khachaturians versus Aghanian. or Oghanian versus the City of Burbank. This is a personal injury auto accident. The city also met on one item of existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 and an unspecified employment matter, the disclosure of which would just jeopardize existing settlement negotiations. And finally, the City Council met with the city's real property negotiator, Ms. Simone McFarland, concerning potential acquisition of 110 West Olive in Burbank. The negotiating parties in that matter are BCH Enterprises. In all three of these matters, the City Council took no reportable action this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. All right. Now is the time for joint general public comment. I will be calling out the speaker's name as well as the person who is next in line to speak. In order to keep our public comment moving in a timely fashion, we have a designated seat right here at the front for the person who's up next. So if you're in the back and you'd rather walk up here so you have enough time to get up to the podium, we have a seat for you reserved. A timer is also available on the podium, and this is the last call for anybody who would like to speak on the general public comment. This is also the last call for interpreters. If anybody needs an interpreter, please go see them now. Seeing none, you are both free to go home. Enjoy your evening. Persons may choose to use the first period of public comment to address an agendized report, but will not be able to speak on that following this segment. Please state your name for the record clearly, and if I mispronounce your name, please correct me. Now, Madam City Clerk, I have 15 comment cards here. How many folks are on the phones?
We have 3 residents on the phone.
Great, so that is under 20 speakers, which means that everybody gets their 3 minutes to speak. Our first speaker will be Sunshine McQueen, followed by Ron Bax.
Mayor, 1 second to grab her.
Okay. Welcome, Sunshine. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Sunshine McQueen. I just got a letter in the mail from the Burbank Housing Authority that I'm going to be losing my housing voucher. It was supposed to be good for 10 years, and I'm going to lose it next year. I have a 2-year-old. He kept telling you, I'm two, the whole meeting. So next year he'll be 3. I'm very scared I'm going to be homeless with a 3-year-old. And I know I can't be the only person in Burbank that got this letter, so, I mean, in a year there's going to be a bunch of homeless people in Burbank. I can't see how that's going to make Burbank look good. It's going to be the same eyesore that Skid Row is, except a bunch of kids, you know? Like, at least Skid Row, all the homeless people look like adults, you know? So, the average apartment in Burbank is $2,852. Average 1-bedroom is $2,224. Mine's more than that, if you believe everything you read on Google, you know. I just can't afford. I don't know what to do. I'm very, very worried. I'm going to be homeless in a year with my kid. I know I can't be the only person who got this letter. There's got to be a lot of people in Burbank that got letters. They're going to lose their housing vouchers. I just don't know what to do. They gave me a list of other resources. Maybe I could go to those places. If I go to those places, they just say they can't do anything for me, and they send me to one of the other places on the list. So I'm just extremely worried. I know that I can't be the only person in Burbank that got this letter. So in a year, a bunch of families are going to be homeless. We're all going to lose our housing vouchers. I don't know what to do. So I came to this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. We do have staff available to speak with you about that in the moment. And of course, I would be remiss if I don't say you can always email all of us to continue sharing your concerns. We hear you, but please speak with staff right now who's available to directly address that. Thank you for coming on down. And
Thank you
again,
so much.
thank you for bringing your little one.
I'm sorry my kid is.
No,
sorry.
don't apologize at all. Please don't. All right. Our next speaker is Ron Bax, followed by Armin Medavosian.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and staff. I invite anybody who doubts what I'm about to say, go to YouTube, search for the November 18th, 2025 Burbank City Council meeting. My presentation begins at 7:04 p.m. and the mayor's response begins at 7:56 p.m. Be aware there are several videos because of a closed session study session preceding the council meeting. In my general public comment presentation, I set the stage of a housing provider who have 1 or 2 rentals and are working full-time may not be knowledgeable of some laws. Hence, the 12 cases referred to the city attorney were innocent technicalities. Failure to give a tenant notice that their tenancy is not subject to AB 1482 should not be considered an egregious predatory act by a housing provider, especially when the result is to the advantage of the tenant. Madam Mayor, your response to my presentation was, I quote, I do expect landlords to be knowledgeable about the laws regarding their property. That is absolutely my expectation. The same way property owners who own houses are expected to be knowledgeable about the property rights, the property responsibilities. I do expect that, unquote. You then turned to the city attorney for a phone number and continued, again I quote, you mentioned the number of cases. You're absolutely right. There is low cases, but that is what that number is there for. Folks who have questions about their property rights, their property responsibilities, can call that number. Tenants who have questions can call that number, so it is absolutely an expectation of mine, unquote. It is noteworthy that you do not expect tenants to be knowledgeable about the laws that housing providers are not included in the second section, which invites people to call for help. Property owners who own homes would not have little, if no reason, to contact the city to inquire about their rights regarding landlord, tenant, or housing enforcement issues. I continue to be surprised by property owners who do not realize that Prop 19 removed the opportunity for generational wealth. Even though it was on the ballot, received an independent analysis and arguments for and against. This is not the case for AB or SB bills, which are comparatively done in the shadows or back rooms. So I find your expectations only reasonable in a perfect world. Also, I mentioned back then that we had talked about the complaint form or comment form back in June. I mentioned in November. It still is only, this is printed out today, still only for tenants. When are we going to have a form for housing providers? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Armin Medavosian, followed by Mike Stage. Welcome.
Hey everyone, thank you for allowing me to talk. I hope everybody's well. Some of you may know me from, my face because I've met you, and some of you will probably know me because I've sent a lot of emails with leaf blower noises and stuff like that. I'm really stoked about this ordinance and thing that you want to pass. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's really going to improve our quality of life, and it's going to reduce a lot of pollution in our local area. This is a local pollution problem, and it's a real nuisance as far as the noise goes. I know the SR was mentioning that the noise levels are going to be slightly improved. No, they're going to be drastically improved. So just a few numbers I want to throw out. A single leaf blower puts out about the same amount of pollution as 42 cars in an hour, traveling at 60 miles an hour. To put that into another perspective, you could go back and forth to Vegas twice, and you'd still put out less pollution than a single leaf blower in an hour. So keep that in mind when you guys hopefully pass this ordinance and make our city a cleaner and nicer place to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Mike Stage, followed by John Van Nest.
Thank you. My name is Mike. I am a former resident of Burbank, but my kids grew up here, and I am a frequent visitor all the time. I love Burbank. And I gotta say, get the flock out. I'm sorry. Flock, no matter what the police chief says, no matter what everyone else says, it can and it will be abused. We have people out there right now being kidnapped. Go to Victory and Alameda at U-Haul, you will see where they used to be and now don't congregate anymore because they have been kidnapped, taken. Armed thugs jumping out of cars, masks on, grabbing people, and then just disappearing into the night. They're not police. They're not officers. They're Nazis. They are the American Gestapo taking our people. And flock is what they have been using and will continue to use no matter what safeguards you put into it. Any system can be hacked, any system whatsoever. And nothing against anybody here. I'm sure you're all honorable people, but anybody can be corrupted. Anyone can make a mistake. Anything can go wrong. And once the system is working, we're stuck with it. So instead, drop it. I know it's not easy, and it may be expensive. I'm sorry about that, but freedom for our people out there working to defend these migrants, for the migrants themselves, we need to be at their back. We need to defend them, we need to be with them. Back in the civil rights days, people died marching and protesting. Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman were beaten to death. Others faced the same, but they knew they had people who would take their back, people who would be there for them, people who would bail them out, people who would help them. This city council has a chance to do that right now. You can be there for these people. You can be there saying, we're going to get flock out. We're going to do everything we can to eliminate it and to limit any kind of damage that can happen to you. We don't want you dating off the streets, winding up in a jail cell someplace, stripped off to some gulag somewhere, maybe overseas, and never coming home, never seeing your family, all because you want a piece of the American dream, all because you simply want to work. The only way to guarantee it, the only way that can be done is to have their back and get flock out. Break the contract if you have to, cancel it, it doesn't matter, get it out. Flock has to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is John Van Nest, followed by Carolyn Solberg.
Hello, guys. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your service. You guys do such a great job for the city and the residents. For the last 25 years, I've had a business on South San Fernando near Verdugo. And over the last 10 or 12 years, I've had hotels move in on both sides of me. To the north, just immediately to the north, is the Hilton Garden Inn, and to the south is the Spring Hill Suites. And during the planning of those two projects, the city did a tremendous job in reaching out to the people in the area, whether they were residents or businesses, to answer any questions that residents might have, give residents a feel for the scope of the project, etc. They did a great job. One of the main concerns that any residents have and businesses, and this is probably citywide, is what will such a change in the neighborhood do to street parking? So when I went and attended these meetings, the line that was put forth was that the city will work hard to mandate that every hotel have ample parking to take care of their needs. And actually, they went further in saying that street parking will actually improve because the buildings that had been there prior to the hotel did not have on-site parking, so those people needed to park on the street. So actually, street parking should improve. What could go wrong? Well, here's what went wrong. The hotels charge $25 per night for their guests to park in their lot. So what do the guests of the hotel do? They find the nearest street that has overnight parking for free and say, well, I'm going to do that. Now, in the case of Hilton Garden Inn at the corner of Verdugo and San Fernando, literally you walk out the front door, parking right there, free, overnight, no problem. But if you pull into their lot, that's $25. So my suggestion is, in addition to mandating that the hotel must have enough parking for their their situation, they cannot charge an extra fee for parking, or they charge every single customer a smaller fee so that it's all included and people do not park overnight. The second thing I'd like to mention, I'm running quick. Because I have overnight parking right out inside of my business, I'm finding more and more people parking there and leaving their cars for days at a time. Yes, I use the 311 app to report them, but this is really cumbersome for me as a business person. And the hotel guests, if I arrive there at 9 in the morning, guess what? The hotel guests are taking all the parking outside of my business. So my time's just about up. I might come back to give you another chapter, but thank you so much for hearing me.
Thank you for your comment.
Should I petition, would I contact any?
Yes, you can speak with our staff.
Thank
was
you,
right
thank
here.
you.
Of course. Our next speaker is Caroline Solberg, followed by Kit.
Good evening. I'm Caroline Solberg. I'm a resident of Burbank. I'm here to speak in support of the funding for administration of the Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. I became aware of this population a few years ago, and since I've learned that many people are not aware of the challenges that this population faces, and so I wanted to take the opportunity this evening to share that information. In Los Angeles County, approximately 1,500 young people age out of foster care each year with no preparation or support to be on their own. LA County has fewer than 200 spaces of transitional housing beds available. So if 1,500 are aging out and 200 take those beds, that 1,300 that don't have a place to be. Traditionally, these programs are a 24-month program. That means the second year you have an additional 1,500 that don't have a place to be. I became aware of this population when I became aware of the Linden House. It was a transitional housing program we had in Burbank that ran for about 10 years. It's not currently running because the space is no longer available. The National Foster Youth Institute shares the following statistics. More than 23,000 children will age out of the U.S. foster care system every year. After reaching the age of 18, 20% of these children who are in foster care will become instantly homeless. There is less than a 3% chance for children who have aged out of foster care to earn a college degree at any point in their life. 7 out of 10 girls who age out of foster care will become pregnant before the age of 21. 60% of men who age out of foster care system have been convicted of a crime. About 1 in 4 kids who age out of the foster care system will not graduate from high school or be able to pass their GED. And 1 out of every 2 kids who age out of the system will develop a substance dependence. So the initiative you're considering tonight is extremely important, and anything that this city can do for that population would be really important. I'm going to head out now because I have tickets to the Colony Theater, but I will watch the rest of the meeting tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Kit, followed by Ashley Ramsey.
Hi. Hi, good evening, guys. I'm Kit. I have 2 concerns to voice to the council this evening. To start, I would like to address the recent acquisition of Warner Brothers by Netflix. I am a games and animation artist with management experience who has been out of work for over a year. Many highly qualified artists are out of work due to the current state of the industry. This downturn was directly caused by the Warner Discovery merger, downsizing CNN, and gutting industry jobs. My former employer, TikTok Games, not that one, is based out of downtown Burbank and had to lay off most of its U.S. staff after the Warner Discovery merger slowed down the industry. It's not the only business that has had to downsize. I am not the only resident of Burbank who has been out of work for a year or more. You can see this with the empty storefronts downtown, of which there are more of since the last time I was at City Council. At my former employee, I often worked on projects for Netflix. I know my former employee has also worked with Warner Brothers in the past. If this merger goes through, that means less places to pitch, which means less projects for Burbank companies, which means less job for a city that is, in my opinion, struggling. I urge the council to explore options to oppose this merger, such as putting pressure on Representative Freeman or suing to stop the monopoly. Secondly, I would like to address the other issue that I think is affecting our city's economy, which is the ICE raids. We're told they aren't happening in the city, but the truth is ICE is here. They're active in our city. And I find it unfortunately insulting that we've been told otherwise. Veterans Day, I watched a local business, Glen Oaks Car Wash, close and turn around to customers because ICE was raiding the nearby Home Depot in Burbank. The owners of the car wash should not be on their own to protect their workers' civil rights. They should not have to lose business on a holiday when we know the economy is hurting. I'm from DC. I grew up around law enforcement. My father's former FDI. My grandfather was a New York City Port Authority officer. I know the difference between normal and unlawful government operations. These operations are clearly in violation of our constitutional rights, and the city needs to do more to protect our citizens. A great start would be ending the contract with Flock, which, while safe on paper, has disclosed discerning ties to ICE that call into question their integrity. Thanks for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Ashley Ramsey, followed by David Donahue. Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Ashley Ramsey. I'm here tonight to also express my concern with the city's contract with the Flock surveillance cameras. This surveillance is extremely intrusive, and there have been instances of harmful practices, including assistance to ICE. This is concerning to me, especially as ICE continues to terrorize our community. In fact, ICE was very active in the Glendale and Burbank communities just yesterday. A group of volunteers who patrol the Burbank and North Hollywood areas daily. We received notification that ICE was seen at the Glendale Galleria, and then we were later notified that they were headed towards Burbank, and they were spotted at Burbank IKEA, Home Depot, and U-Haul. We had volunteers on the ground at all of these locations, as well as some of the car washes here in Burbank, and fortunately, no one was detained from those locations. Sadly, we did get confirmation that there was at least one person detained, maybe up to 3 people in Burbank yesterday around 11 o'clock a.m. from McCambridge Park, right across from Burbank Express Car Wash. Unfortunately, we did not have volunteers at that particular location. Why am I telling you this today? I'm telling you this not to incite fear, but to inform our community of what is happening here in Burbank and what continues to happen. ICE is detaining our community members here in our city. ICE does not belong in our city. These are our community members who have worked here, who live here, who have kids in Burbank schools, who provide services for us. They help our community thrive. And we should not stand for people coming into our city and taking these people to God knows where. These people belong in our community, and we should not stand for people coming and taking people away who have lived here for decades. We don't stand for that. City Council should not stand for that. ICE does not belong in Burbank. So I say all of this today to encourage City Council to really look into the Flock surveillance cameras. I do not believe that these add protections. I think that these cause a lot of harm to particularly vulnerable communities already. So I urge you to cancel your contracts with the Flock surveillance. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is David Donahue, followed by King.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, David Donahue, business owner and homeowner here in the great city of Burbank. A couple things. First of all, I want to congratulate and applaud the effort for Holiday in the Park. I think it was a spectacular event. We were happy to be able to go and enjoy it. Also, as one of the admins on one of the larger Facebook pages, to be able to promote and also help hopefully bring some attention to the fact that they needed to raise some money. So it was fantastic to see that it was such a success. Also, I have to also applaud the mayor for probably one of the best awards of a kitty key to the city in Mr. Ross Benson. I think he's a phenomenal member of the community. He's been doing it for decades. And so thank you very much for recognizing his contribution. The other part I want to kind of share, and this touches on a little bit of what some of the public commenters have been addressing, is what was in the Burbank Leader. It was the front page, and so it came in this weekend's edition. It was the tribute to Canine Spike. I had the privilege of being able to witness it firsthand, to see the tremendous outpouring of canine officers from across the state, and I imagine from other states. There were just so many of them. It was truly a special tribute for the loss and for what he did and what he gave to the great city of Burbank. My wife and I also made it a point of dropping off flowers at the memorial and also writing a letter to Officer Solis, because it's hard to imagine just what his family was suffering through that. So to everybody on the city staff that put that together, thank you very much. I know it was a tremendous amount of work. The other thing I want to share, and this is kind of goes into what was shared by the police chief, is that this system, which I didn't know this is a big issue, but I just want to say that any sort of license plate reader that's going to be able to help the police officers be able to save some resources to be able to go and apprehend people and to solve some crimes, I am 100% in support of. In fact, if it's like 150,000, let's double it and make it 300,000. We need more cameras to be able to enforce and be able to protect our community. It is the best use of resources because we all have seen the reports on how much one officer costs a year. So this is a really good use of time, money, and efforts. So again, to the council and to the staff, you guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Kang, followed by Terry Friedman.
Hello, my name is Jean Kang. I am a resident of Burbank, a member of a Burbank-based entertainment union, Local 839, the Animation Guild, and an artist in the animation industry with over 15 years of experience. I am here to demand that our elected members of the council stand against and block the buyout between Paramount and Warner Brothers through whatever powers we have at disposal. Whether it be through referring this case to be reviewed in a federal court or through methods that the LA City Council used in 2014 against the merger of Kroger and Albertsons. It is in the council's best interest, as well as their duty, to stand against the Paramount and Warner Brothers merger. The merger has been a huge cause of stagnation for jobs in the entertainment industry. For the past couple of years, I have seen my local members downsizing and moving out of Burbank, delaying the creation of families, and not being able to afford daily necessities because mergers have stopped shows from being greenlit and staffed. What I am concerned about is that Burbank is the beating heart of the entertainment industry and will suffer more job losses if these mergers go through. Senator Elizabeth Warren has called this merger a five-alarm antitrust fire, and exactly what anti-monopoly laws are written to prevent. And in a world where billionaires can call upon their cronies in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, we must also do our part to uphold the law and protect the working people. And that is why I demand the council stand against this merger in their utmost capacity. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And sorry for missing your first name.
Okay.
Our next speaker is Terry Friedman, followed by Megan B.
Thank you, Council. My name is Terry Friedman, a local resident of Burbank. You know what this space is missing? Advertising. Said no resident ever. Let's be clear that this proposal for digital kiosk was brought to us by the company for the company's interest. It was not requested by council. It has no request by residents. No resident tonight has spoken one iota in favor of this proposal, even though it's been on the agenda multiple times now. We're told that a majority of ads will be from major corporations. Let's be clear, no one needs another ad for fast food or fast fashion in our faces, in our public spaces. And regarding public safety, I've seen Ike's kiosk in Berkeley. I'm from the Bay Area. They are facing the public right of way. Pedestrians have their backs towards traffic at intersections at a time when we are passing daylighting ordinances and seeing a rise in pedestrian accidents and casualties. Also, when ads are static, say they're not a video. Oh, they were not distracting, they're not a video. Well, when they have a dark palette background that switches to a light palette background, that does the same effect to your eye and attention and grabs it away. And this is, of course, by design because this is what companies are paying for. They're paying for eyeballs, they're paying for the exposure. They want to be visible to drivers. Second, outdoor advertising never cedes territory, it only captures more. In 2022, the City of Santa Monica awarded a digital kiosk program. And at that time, alcohol ads were prohibited. Say, no, we don't want that. Cut to this year, they are now accepting alcohol ads because they need the revenue. They're also now considering cannabis ads. Things that you considered unfathomable in the city yesterday may be a reality tomorrow. Santa Monica is also now considering a digital billboard district, something they have not considered in 40 years, because that is how tantalizing the drug of advertising revenue becomes for cities. But even then, there's no guarantee on the income claims. In October, this October, it was reported that Berkeley was told by Ike's parent company, Orange Barrel Media, that they would receive about $26,000 per sign per year. And the reality was they received just around $5,000 per sign. And that's only because they were guaranteed a minimum. If you took away the minimum guarantee, then they received $2,000 per sign per year. That's not worth something trading out our public spaces for. It's important to not go into this with rose-colored glasses. Considering the pending Warner Brothers merger, also bear in mind that the company we contract with today may not be the entity we're working with 5 years from now. We may be dealing with private equity who does not put the community's needs first. The most valuable asset you have is your attention. Please don't put it up for sale.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Megan B., followed by Dan K.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and staff. I would like to voice my concerns over the wayfinding kiosk program, which includes 360 cameras, as far as I understand, along with the current cameras Burbank has in place from flock surveillance. I strongly believe all surveillance cameras are bad for our city. These technologies, when used irresponsibly, I think that's the key word, because when they're used responsibly, it looks great, but the irresponsible part is the thing we're concerned about. They leave us open for unlawful surveillance from ICE and other agencies, and we owe it to our most vulnerable population to protect them, and if this means getting rid of the technology and doing it in a different way, then that's what we should do. Secondly, I have been working for Warner Brothers for 6 years. When I started at the company, the merger with AT&T had just finished. In 2022, we merged with Discovery. Earlier this year, we were unmerging with Discovery, and now either Netflix or Paramount is buying us out. I believe this would be catastrophic for local jobs in our city. Entertainment is a cornerstone of our local economy. I strongly urge council to do what it can using antitrust laws to do their part in blocking these mergers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Dan K., followed by Joe Pimienta.
Good evening, City Council, City staff, fellow Burbank residents. There's a lot I wanted to touch on tonight. Number one, the recent news about WB buyout, whether it's Netflix, Paramount, Dubai, the Kushner Trumps. We don't want it. I asked the city to look into filing a lawsuit and blocking this. Every time this corporate consolidation happens, it results in mass layoffs. We're going to lose amazing entertainment industry jobs, union jobs. Corporate consolidation, whether it's of the entertainment industry, of housing, it destroys communities, and we say no. These kiosks, I don't want them. We don't want them. We don't want public space in downtown Burbank being used for ads, corporate ads, taking up this space that we walk on, that we enjoy. It would be nice to walk into downtown Burbank and not have more screens shoved in our face, just be able to enjoy it and appreciate it for what it currently is, which is great. Gas-powered leaf blower ban, yes. I want to see a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, and I want to see that ban enforced. I know, I think LA City has one. They don't enforce it. Everyone still uses gas-powered leaf blowers. Folks have said about the pollution issues. They come into my apartment complex once a week to do the gardening, and they use gas-powered leaf blowers. I have to close all my windows. Aside from the noise, yeah, the pollution is terrible, the dust it kicks up. I also want to echo the concern, sadness, frustration, and anger. Another ICE spotting in Burbank, harassing, assaulting, kidnapping our neighbors. These flock cameras around Burbank, they're always recording, they're sharing info. I think mass surveillance in any capacity is wrong. maybe they help stop some property crimes, but at the end of the day, they don't benefit the overall community, and I'd like City Council to look into removing the contract with them. Additionally, this past Monday, I went to the Tenant Landlord Commission. They did a really great presentation, the October 20th City Council meeting. Thank you to Shipra and Maribel for talking through all of that. There was a big landlord harassment issue, but also a concern about tenants with reduction of services. And I help manage the B2U email. That's a really common issue, reduction of services. We pay rent based on these amenities and services, and landlords take them away. There's a lot of discussion about the constitutional taking clause, fair compensation. But what about tenants? What happens when our amenities that we pay for, that maybe they're in our leases, maybe they're there when we move in and they're taken away? Is there any way that we get compensated when those are taken away? Or is that just, are we SOL and that's just the way the world works? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Joe Pimienta, followed by Jomo. And thank you for the lovely festive drawing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff, and everybody present in the chamber. First and foremost, I also want to say thank you to everyone who put together the Burbank holiday event. It was wonderful. It was magnificent. It was so cool, and I got stories. But yeah, so seriously, for everyone who put that together and for everyone who attended, thank you so much. I also do want to give a shout out that I'm sorry that we don't have Mark Scruggs this evening to give us an update on the industry, on the entertainment industry, because I'm pretty sure that he will have a lot to say with what's going on, which, as you heard from other speakers, it's an atrocity, and anything that the city can do to prevent that, please do, because it will impact people that live here. Speaking on things that impact that live here, you know, like as a participant with the Burbank Tenant Union, we continue to see rent evictions on the wonderful holidays of December. So I know that the mayor doesn't like it when I cuss, but Merry fucking Christmas to those people who actually have to deal with the bad news of you have to leave your home. So with that being said, how do I put this? I do want to express my condolences for the people who feel the loss of the community member of Spike the K9. However, ironically speaking, someone was using that as a dog whistle for reporting an undocumented person. So just be wary of how that is used. And I do think that is, once again, I'm sorry, it's the holidays, fucking disgusting that how people are portrayed. Anyways, continuing on a different topic. Similar to what everyone is saying, Mayor, you've also said yourself something that I agree with. Solo el pueblo cuida al pueblo, which, for anyone who doesn't understand, that means only the people look after the people. So I implore all of you, do not give that job to a corporation. So drop these flock cameras. They are being used to surveil us, and no, that is not how we keep each other safe. Our community keeps us safe. We keep ourselves safe, and you all know that. That's what makes Burbank great. That's what improves our quality of life, is that we all know each other as neighbors. So with that in mind, once again, due to the holiday season, I do want to give you the gift of apologies, but I do think that we have to get louder saying fuck ICE, stop prioritizing cars, and once more, thank you for your work. Happy holidays to all of you, and thank you for your work.
Thank you for your comment. And we're going to have to change our TVMA rating, man. Jomo, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
I know I learned a lot of new words in Joe's comment, so that was great. I thank you, Chief, for your presentation and sharing a little bit of about the flock cameras. That was very informative, and I also learned a lot from that as well. Much like police, flock cameras do not prevent crime. They catch crime. They give a lot of data. Even when used responsibly, they invade privacy. And I actually don't think there is a responsible way to invade privacy. I don't think there's a responsible way to use mass surveillance on broad populations. I don't think that's responsible at all. And so did Eugene, Oregon. So did Springfield, Oregon. They canceled their flock contracts after public comment, just like mine, just like ones that you've heard today, saying that they are leaders in canceling these flock contracts. So I think that is something y'all should look into. Also, our region we're not the only city who has flock cameras. We're not the only city that has license plate readers like these. And so there's cities who are a little further ahead of us in this game, and they've already seen illegally shared data. It's so common. The ACLU wrote about it. Cal Matters wrote about it. This is not something that we're making up. It's not a false worry. This is things that we've seen happen in our region before. And I just want to really emphasize that. Not like, Chief, you're an amazing guy, but still, like, these are really scary things we're seeing. And so I want to really emphasize that. And so just thank you for sharing, for letting me speak about that.
Thank you for your comment. All right, those are all my in-person speaker cards. Let's go to the phones.
The first caller is Katie Hood.
Hi, Katie, you're on the City Council. You have 3 minutes.
Great. Hello. I'm a Burbank resident. The first issue that I'm calling about is the Warner Brothers and Netflix merger. I worked at Warner Brothers when the Discovery merger happened, and this happened like 3 years ago. You guys know this will destroy so many jobs in Burbank. It wasn't just the creative projects that got cut. It wasn't just the artists. It was management positions. It was HR. It was all of the things that merged when the companies merged. There's no reason these giant companies need to be buying each other like this. And you can use your power as the City Council to refer the case to a federal court for review, override that federal authority. So please consider doing so just for the economic health of Burbank, if nothing else. Second, I will not feel safe in Burbank until Flock is completely gone. The cameras are a hostile presence. They are clearly not welcome here, which means that the data they're gathering is being collected without the citizens' consent. And it doesn't matter if the companies promise that it's safe. Tech companies in the past have open-faced lied about privacy concerns and policies up until the point that they got caught. And I know this for a fact because I got $20 from Facebook in a class action lawsuit this year. So, it's happened to me. And even if they're not lying, all it takes is a company buyout like we saw happen with 23andMe, where suddenly all that data now belongs to a new company with new policies that doesn't have to adhere to all the old agreements. Once the data's been collected, it's not within our power as a community or your power as community leaders to delete it. So cut off the access valve. Flock doesn't protect citizens. Their allegiance belongs to the highest bidder. The Flock cameras have to go. If you care about the people of your city who voted for you, who you say you serve, you'll cancel this Flock contract and remove all of their cameras. Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
The next caller is Sadako Leong Suzuki.
Hi, you're on with the Burbank City Council. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Sadako Leong Suzuki, and I'm a resident of Burbank, like many of the other people who have called in tonight. And I'm just on Alameda Avenue, so very Burbank. I'm an animation worker, like I think a number of people here are, and a fellow member of Local 839, and I'm calling to implore you, just like so many, with any and all power that you guys can on the City Council, to please block the buyout of Warner Brothers and refer this case to a federal court for review to use antitrust laws to protect the jobs, businesses, and community of Burbank. I'm really concerned about the potential impact of the potential buyout and merger on both the workforce and residents of Burbank. Such a move will likely cause thousands of job losses, and many of which include those who live, work, and thrive in this wonderful city. I'm sure you've already heard and seen not just those locals like myself that work directly in the entertainment business, but also our other local businesses who have suffered due to clientele loss of jobs and lack of money to spend at our local establishments. So please, whether it's pressuring these companies, putting in more efforts and research into how to fight against this merger, but please, please, please protect the wonderful community of Burbank. Look into and put in your efforts to fight this merger. And lastly, before I end my message for tonight, I would also like to add my voice into the complaints against Flock. Learning and hearing about this surveillance system really does not make me feel safer. If anything, I fear more for myself and my neighbors with this level of surveillance and third-party involvement. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see our City Council help protect its residents.
Thank you for your call.
The last caller is Kyle Anderson.
Hi, you're on with the Burbank City Council. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Council. I'm a Burbank resident, and I'm speaking today in strong opposition of the use of the flock cameras in Burbank. Cities like Oakland have already faced lawsuits after their flock data was illegally shared with federal immigration agencies. I appreciate Burbank PD's commitment to transparency and trust. However, in response to the FOIA request showing Burbank PD sharing data with HSI, ICE, and many others, the explanation that we didn't realize we were checking a box that gave access to hundreds of other agencies does not inspire the most confidence. If the department does not fully understand the system it's using, that should concern all of us. I've spoken before about the ICE raids happening right down the street from my own home, yet not a single council member has proposed any action to support our immigrant neighbors or the residents who have stepped up to protect them from these masked agents on our streets. Flock's own default agreements allow the company to share data with federal and local agencies for, quote, investigative purposes. That's built into their system. In November, ICE accessed Capitola, California's flock data, and just this month in December, the same thing happened in Santa Cruz. And in both cases, the police departments only found out after being publicly called out about it. Their internal audits did not catch it. This technology is simply too powerful or perhaps too vulnerable. It's not developed or maintained in-house. It's run by a private vendor that openly works with ICE. Burbank PD doesn't hold this data. Flock does. So how can the department honestly guarantee that ICE will not access it? In other cities, they already have, exactly as I've outlined. I'd like to thank our other members of the community that are risking their own safety to patrol our streets and protect our neighbors. And I urge council to end this contract, get these cameras, quite literally, the flock out of Burbank. Also, nobody wants these giant ad kiosk screens. They sound really ugly and like those little screens at a gas station, but giant. And please do what you can to block the WB merger. Thank you so much for your time, council. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your call.
That was our last caller.
Okay, thank you, Madam City Clerk. All right, now it's time for council responses, but does staff have any responses?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just have 2 items. I just wanted to note that we did follow up with, or we are following up with the first speaker related to the expiring housing voucher. So I know staff did, we're going to try to do what we can as far as assisting that individual. And then also we will be following up with the gentleman regarding the on-street parking. So we just need to know the particulars there. So I know Mr. Prescott and his team will be talking with that individual. So I just wanted to provide those 2 updates.
Great, thank you.
Just as a follow-up, I know in some of our commercial corridors there's no parking 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Do we know, is that part of what he's talking about or no?
We need to identify the exact business and the streets and what the situation is. So we will work with the individual and see what we could do.
Okay, excellent. And there was a speaker about the foster care program that's on our consent calendar, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's on the consent. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Positive that we're getting additional vouchers.
Item 3. Okay. Thank you. And to the member of the public that is concerned about our missing Mark Scroggs tonight, he's in New York. He's working on some big stuff. I did talk to him earlier this morning, and he's very concerned about what's happening, job losses, businesses, and all that stuff. I do want to thank everybody for coming out. We appreciate seeing some new faces. I see some new faces in the audience. We always appreciate that. And a lot of this stuff is either on consent or not even agendized. The consent stuff, we're going to bring that up later, but if it's not on the agenda, we really can't discuss it. But if you have concerns about anything that the city is doing, I mean, we mentioned it earlier, citycouncil@burbankca.gov, citycouncil@burbankca.gov. Send us your thoughts. We'd love to hear about potential policy, potential agenda items, anything for the future. We do want to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Anthony. I believe it was just staff that had responded, right? And then the rest of you? Okay. Who'd like to go next? Councilor Mones.
Well, thank you, everyone who came tonight. I do want to congratulate again Megan Park for both Jeff and Ross for doing a great event. And some of the items on the agenda will be looked at and approved, hopefully, as we go through it. Aram, I think he left already. I wanted to say, yes, I met with you 3 years ago regarding the leaf blowers, and I'm glad you showed up tonight because it's on the agenda and it will we go through it for adoption. I do want to, let me see here, we addressed the hotel parking. I do have a question for staff because I'm a bit confused in regards to Warner Brother merger, Netflix. Do we even have an authority to tell a company such as Warner who they should do business with and who shouldn't? I don't know if anybody can really answer right now, but do we have the authority to do that?
So this would have to be agendized at council request at the end of the meeting for further discussion. It's not something that's typically within the city's authority.
Okay, thank you. I just was curious because I've never ever seen this happen before at a public meeting where we actually have some authority over this. Also, I'm going to pull my phone, which is something I hardly do during a meeting, but I do want to bring everyone's attention that talked about ICE for a website, I think most of you know this, I'm probably the only immigrant that sits here on the council. So I wasn't born in the United States. I do have my own community who are also probably going through similar things you have described. But what I try to do is to find ways of how I can assist and help those community members by providing information. And I was wondering, I spoke with some members of the Burbank Human Relation Council in regards to their website and the information they provide for immigration, and I do have it in my hand right here, so I highly encourage you to go on the website for the Burbank Human Relation Council. It's under Immigration Resolution and Rights, and it has multiple websites, links, information, and how to protect individuals. I can't go into it too much right now, but I hear you loud and clear, and I really encourage those who have a lot of concerns to go through the Burbank Human Relation Council. And I also, if there's nonprofits that are listening to this tonight or sitting here in the audience, I would also ask you to please use the same link or information to provide for your members as well. So if you have any other questions, please email me or call me, and I'm happy to discuss it with you and show you where all this information is at. So the other items are on the agenda, and we will be discussing that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Who would like to go next? Vice Mayor Takahashi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and speaking. Thank you to those who wrote emails, those who called, met since our last council meeting. Always appreciate that. Let's see. So first, I wanted to thank staff for including on our city announcements the information about BTAC and YMCA doing food distribution. Appreciate that. And then I also wanted to just comment, congrats to Mag Park Events. It's so cool about that organization, and I'm really looking forward to celebrate Burbank. That's going to be great. Let's see. For the commenter that staff mentioned about who had a letter that they're losing their housing voucher, if others in the community are getting that same letter, who can they contact or where can they go to follow up?
Welcome, Mr. Prescott.
Good evening, Mayor Perez, members of the City Council, Patrick Prescott, Community Development Director. Everyone who receives the letter will have the contact information for the individual in the housing division to contact. Anyone who wants information in general about housing can call 818-238-5180. The vouchers were funded by ARPA, I think, and rents across the country are so high that they ran out of money sooner. So the vouchers are supposed to last much longer than the end of next year. But we gave people notice well in advance so they could start making plans, and we are working with them to transition them to other housing. So our goal is that none of them will be homeless. Those are emergency housing vouchers, by the way, so yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. For Ms. Solberg, I think you're watching from home. Thank you for highlighting the importance of supporting our foster kids. We will talk about that. Well, we won't probably not talk about it much, but it'll be on our agenda item later. I wanted, Ms. Ramsey brought up the folks volunteering to be around the neighborhood, to go around the neighborhood and take care of each other in the community. I just wanted to share my appreciation for all the folks who do that every day. I know it's a lot of work out of your day and time, and so thank you for going around to support our community and to keep an eye on it. I don't know what the phrase was that was used later, but that phrase that was used, I want to echo that same phrase. And then, so a couple folks brought up continued landlord and tenant issues. One was about harassment, one was about reduction of services, other was seeing continued rent evictions. Please, please, when you're seeing these, contact our housing enforcement unit. I know I keep saying that. The more that we know about this going on, the more information, the better. And hopefully we can also help you. That's the intent, but we also get the information of seeing that happening. So it's really important that we find out about that. Okay, thank you. And for those who spoke about Flock and the Warner Brothers merger, I just want to thank you for coming tonight and speaking on these issues. You're heard, and I appreciate you coming tonight. And then for the other items that were mentioned, they're going to be later on the agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Rosati.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There we go. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Holiday in the Park, it was just so well done this year. Thank you to Ross and Jeff. You knocked it out of the ballpark. It was a great evening. It was so well attended, so large that I didn't even make it through the whole event. But everyone was raving about it, so well done there. To the speakers regarding Flock, and to everyone that has emailed us, we understand your concerns. I have 1,000% confidence in our police chief and the information that he gave us. And our job as council people is to protect our residents. And I believe that those cameras do that very thing. Just 2 days ago, we solved a burglary using those cameras. To the people, and I would ask you to please not mislead people with misinformation. You heard the report tonight. There's more information. You can contact the department. Have all your questions asked and answered, but I would ask that you just not mislead. To all the people that are concerned about ICE, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about our residents. But I just want to remind you, these are men and women that take an oath to protect us. They take their lives in their hands every day, and they don't just enforce immigration. So when we MF them or call them Nazis, I think that's a bridge too far. They enforce human trafficking, child exploitation, protect our national security, cybercrime, and you're grouping everyone in one bunch. And yeah, I'll be the first one to say, I wish they would have taken down the guy that killed our police dog. 100%. I want the bad guys in jail, and I want the good guys amongst us. Thank you.
Okay. I will start with Mr. Back, since you addressed me directly. Yes, I stand by what I said a few weeks ago. I do believe that every rental property owner should know their rights and responsibilities. Again, I don't think that's a major ask. I think every tenant should know their rights and responsibilities, so please don't misquote me. Come on. And I think if you don't know those rights and responsibilities, you can once again, like I said a few weeks ago, call us at 818-238-5180. Housing Enforcement Office staff, more than happy to explain what's real, what isn't real. We've gotten some calls. In fact, last meeting, we had a very concerning call from someone who's here in the audience sharing some misinformation about what we passed for tenant protections last week. Folks are afraid because they're hearing wrong things. If you have questions, folks, get your info from the horse's mouth. Come ask us. Again, 818-238-5180. And you betcha that's going to be my expectation because we have that resource available. So I would hope that both tenants and rental property owners use that resource. To the folks who talked about leaf blowers and the kiosks, like my colleague shared, we'll get there when we get there because those are two discussions on the agenda, but thank you for being here tonight. And just to touch very quickly, well, going back to housing, on the vouchers. Like Mr. Prescott mentioned, this is a national thing. This is actually beyond us. And I don't say that to pass the buck, but to say that it is scary out there. And we are working on finding ways. We are working with those individuals. We want folks to reach out to us. But it goes beyond Burbank. And I just want all of us to be aware that it is a beyond Burbank issue because the cost of housing is insane. And to the folks who talked about, to the folks from the Community Defense Group, thank you for being here again. I promise you, from me at least, it's not thoughts and prayers. I'm grateful for what you're doing out there because it takes guts every day in these incredibly uncertain times. And there was ICE activity in Burbank this week. Thank you for sending it my way. My ask of all of you and of Jennifer, who spoke with the chief, is that you send it his way as well, because we don't know what we don't have in front of us, right? So please continue to send that information our way. Please continue to send testimony, folks who have experienced this, because we know they're out there. Please do that. And I appreciate every single one of you that are out there doing that. I'm not going to tell you that it's not happening. And at least this council member does not believe that ICE is doing a good job. They are doing a terrible job. They are deplorable. It is unfathomable. It is unfathomable that my family, and it is my turn. I am speaking right now. Council member, you're out of line. Council member, you are out of line. Each one of us has the opportunity to respond. That is your opinion.
Council member, the mayor has the floor.
I understand.
Stand down.
The mayor has the floor.
You have your opportunity to speak.
Then direct your question
You have your opportunity to speak. You have your right to speak. This is a free country. You have shared your opinion. It is my turn to share mine.
Then I'll
my opinion is that ICE is not doing their job above the law. In the word that Kit mentioned, it is not above board. They are taking people without rightful cause, without warrants. This is nothing new. It's my opinion. And I say that here tonight. So thank you for your comments. They don't go unnoticed, at least by me. They don't go unheard. And I want to communicate that clearly to the members of the public. Not looking for a debate. I'm looking to share exactly what my point of view is. Thank you. And for the flock conversation, I will say one thing. It's an ongoing conversation. Our chief is pulling the information from what he has. And so my encouragement to our Burbank community is that we continue to have that back and forth, to have that conversation, because we're also taking the steps in good faith. I appreciate, I think it was Jomo who said, I believe you're a good guy. And I do think he thinks that. And I want us to keep that here in the community, because it's that collaboration that will find what is right for Burbank. So thank you for sharing the instances of other places where it's happening. Please continue to do that so we can look at what we're doing. It's not unfounded. Look what happened back in 2023 with a different vendor, with the DOJ. So we need that. That's what the community is there for. You're supposed to tell us when you think something's up. The only thing I ask of you is that you come into it with best intent, at least here, because I've worked with the chief. We've had great phone calls about this and about looking into what's happening. And that's as far as I'll go with that before the city attorney also yells at me for saying more because it's not agendized. And then the very last thing, I'll talk about the merger. I know that's a concern for all of you. Believe me, it is for me too. It's unprecedented change, and it could be unprecedented job loss. What I will tell you now is there's a lot we don't know, but at least I will say on my end, I'm looking at it, I'm watching it, and I'm seeing what can be done. I will say it's a little early because we don't, even as a city, have confirmation of what's going to happen. But know that we're watching it, know that the industry is the backbone of our economy. Many of us up here have friends, family, loved ones who are in that industry. And we want to know that the right thing is done. And so stay tuned for that one. I hate to say stay tuned, but there's so little we know at this moment. So thank you all for being here. And we will move forward with the meeting. That's everybody's thoughts. We have all had a chance to share. This is not a debate back and forth. So we're moving on.
That was a cheap shot.
We are moving on. And that is one too. We're moving on. Jesus Christ, grow up. Okay. There being no further public comment, we move on. And we had a response from the city council, city staff, and we move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. Madam City Clerk, will you please read the consent?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 6 items on tonight's consent calendar. Item 1 is approval of the City Council minutes of the special meeting of November 6, 2025, the regular meeting of November 25th, 2025, and the dark meeting of December 2nd, 2025. Item 2 is approval of the Housing Authority minutes of the joint. Item 2 is approval of the Housing Authority minutes of the joint meeting of September 30th, 2025. Item 3 is adoption of a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025-2026 adopted budget to accept and appropriate $83,663 in funding for the administration of the Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. Item 4 is approval of the Housing Successor Annual Report for fiscal year 2024-2025. Item 5 is approval of an amendment to the 2009 promissory note with the Burbank Housing Corporation for the Keeler Elliott Habitat Project located at 1902 Keeler Street, Burbank, California. And the final item is adoption of a resolution approving and authorizing the general manager of Burbank Water and Power to enter into electrical services agreements with residential, commercial, and industrial customers to assist with service requirements, system upgrades, cost reimbursement, and other conditions related to the provision of electric service. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I move to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Let's take a vote.
Councilmember Anthony?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Councilmember Rosati?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Takahashi?
Yes.
And Mayor Perez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Consent calendar passes. And now we move on to the public hearing. This is the time and place for the hearing for project number 25-0004932. Introduction of an ordinance amending the Burbank Municipal Code, Title 10, Chapter 1, Zoning, to establish school trade vocational as a new use along with related regulations. Allow the use in M1 Limited Industrial and M2 General Industrial Zones, and clarify the permissibility of the use in other non-residential zones. If you wish to comment on this item in person, please present a salmon-colored public hearing card to the city clerk. And if you wish to speak over the phone, please call now at 818-238-3335. You will be placed in a queue until the public hearing comment period begins. Before we begin, are there any disclosures related to this hearing?
No.
Seeing none. Madam City Clerk, have the notices as required by law been given?
Yes, they have.
Great. And do we have the complete file of exhibits, correspondence, emails, and other documents?
Yes, we do.
And has the city received any written communications on this matter, and have they been provided to all city council members?
We did not receive any correspondence.
Okay. And will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter? Welcome, Ms. Quiroz.
Good evening, Mayor Perez, Vice Mayor Takahashi, and council members. I'm Vanessa Quiroz, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department with the City of Burbank. May I please have the PowerPoint presentation? Thank you. I'm here tonight to present the proposed zone text amendment and ordinance that has been initiated by the city to establish trade and vocational schools as a new use, allow the use in the industrial zones in addition to other non-residential zones, and establish other related regulations pertaining to definitions and a new parking standard. Over the past few years, the Planning Division has received several inquiries about allowing trade and vocational schools in the industrial zones where the use is currently prohibited. The inquiries that we have received repeatedly mention the benefits of allowing these schools in the industrial zones near future employers where it can facilitate internships, job placement, and allow for networking opportunities. Additionally, the city's 2024-2028 Economic Development Strategic Plan identified higher education as one of the 4 emerging industries in the city to retain and attract to help ensure the city's long-term economic success. Also, industrial zones were identified to have suitable sites to accommodate such schools. To give you a general overview of where these industrial zones lie, on the screen, you can see 2 pockets in the city where there is a concentration of industrial zone properties. On the left-hand side, you can see a cluster near the airport, where there are some areas that are adjacent to residential properties. To the right, you can see a concentration of industrial zone properties on the southeast side of the of downtown Burbank. Currently, the Burbank Municipal Code includes a definition for trade schools, but the use itself is not listed in the BMC zoning use list. At the same time, the existing school definition references vocational and professional schools. The city currently categorizes trade and vocational schools under the general school use, which includes K through 12 and childcare. And since it includes underage students, schools are prohibited in the industrial zones, as these areas were deemed to be unfit and incompatible. However, trade and vocational schools differ from traditional educational institutions. These schools provide hands-on, skill-based training, and not only on beauty services and medical care, but welding and automotive repair that are more compatible in the industrial zones. To address this, staff recommends amendments to the BMC to distinguish trade and vocational schools as a separate land use and provide clear regulations that will enable the city to allow these schools in appropriate locations while maintaining compatibility with surrounding uses. As such, the city proposes the following amendments. The first is to clean up the definitions in the BMC by removing the existing trade school definition to eliminate any confusion, revising the existing school definition by removing the reference to vocational and professional schools, and lastly, by adding a new standalone definition for school, trade/vocational, that will encompass a variety of trade and professional school types. The second amendment would consist of adding school, trade/vocational as a new use in the zoning use list. The use would be subject to a CUP in the industrial zones, and we would carry over the existing permissibilities in the other non-residential zones, where the use is either allowed by right or subject to a AUP. And this depends on the zone and its proximity to residential properties. The discretionary reviews require that all findings must be met to approve the use, and if they're not, the applications can be denied. The third is to add a parking standard for the use of 1 space on site per student. This is being carried over from an existing planning parking policy. A parking reduction can be processed concurrently or under the same discretionary review application for the use with a parking study accompanied with it. Should the applicant request a further reduction at a later time, the applicant can apply for a CUP-AUP minor modification process with a parking study to justify the reduction. Applicants are also allowed to utilize parking spaces from a surrounding property under a shared parking agreement that is tied to both parcels. The item was presented to the Planning Commission on October 13th, 2025. No public comments were received at the meeting. At the meeting, the Commission discussed the proposed permissibility of the use and whether allowances through a CUP would be more appropriate as currently required for schools in certain zones or when located near residential properties. Whether the proposed parking standard is appropriate and whether trade and vocational schools are considered sensitive uses. After deliberation, the Planning Commission voted 3-0 with 2 absences to recommend adoption of the proposed zone text amendment and ordinance to the City Council. Following the Planning Commission's deliberation, the proposed ZTA and ordinances were updated to provide some clarifications. The first, to clarify that the existing permissibility of trade and vocational schools in other non-residential zones will be carried over. The second, that the removing of the trade school definition will be applied, which is no longer necessary since the new definition will include it. These revisions were incorporated in the exhibits of the proposed ordinance under Attachment 1 and were reflected in the red line ordinance under Attachment 2. Staff reviewed the proposed ETA and ordinance and found that they meet the BMC findings for a new use, are consistent with several of the land use goals and policies in the Burbank General Plan that pertain to bringing in supporting land uses in these industrial zones and attracting new businesses. Will fulfill one of the City Council's economic development goals to diversify the economy and retain businesses in the city. And lastly, it will implement goals of the Economic Development Strategic Plan to accommodate an emerging industry in the city. The proposed ZTA and ordinance were reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. It is staff's assessment that they are exempt under the common sense exemption and that they are not considered a project pursuant to CEQA. The proposed ZTA and ordinance are administrative activity of the city that do not consist of any approvals on a particular site. And any future requests shall be reviewed individually for compliances with CEQA. Therefore, it is recommended that the City Council introduce an ordinance of the Council of the City, amending Title 10, Chapter 1 of the Burbank Municipal Code to establish school trade/vocational as a new use, along with related regulations, allow the use in the M1 and M2 zones, and clarify the permissibility of the use in other non-residential zones. This concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your presentation. We'll do public comment first, and then we'll proceed with the public hearing. Great. I have one public comment card. Madam City Clerk, do we have any calls on the line?
There are no callers.
Okay. So we will now open the public hearing to hear from any persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the council on this public hearing item only. In the public hearing, public comment period is now beginning, and no additional cards or calls will be accepted. So we have one card, which will give you 3 minutes to speak. And our first and only speaker is Levin Esuntz. Welcome, Mr. Esuntz.
Good evening, Council. My name is Levon Esuntz. I represent ownership of the Southern California Health Institute, also known as SOCHI. We are a allied health and wellness vocational school that have been open for 30 years now. I'm here to reiterate our interest into the city of Burbank and show you my appreciation for your guys' efforts that you guys have put in to try to get the ZTA passed. as a Burbank resident myself, along with all of my family members, I believe that the city of Burbank can really collaborate and partner with us in making sure that our community does develop in a little bit of a different way in the sense of the workforce issue that we have in allied health. So across the board, from small homes where you might have a caregiver taking care of somebody, all the way up to hospitals, we provide allied health and wellness programs, from massage therapy to registered nursing, that would help find a solution for the workforce issue that we have. And I truly, again, do appreciate all of the efforts that the city has put in, and gives us more opportunity to be able to purchase different properties in M2 zonings that would be more suitable for our uses, and develop more programs that could give back to the community much better and faster. Thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you for your comment. So there being no further public comment, I now declare the public comment period closed. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments after hearing public comment?
I don't have any further comments. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, next is questions for staff. Does council have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Anthony.
So I'm going to kind of ask the obvious question here. Our code says a school is a school. At what point does somebody come along and say, oh, you're doing extra stuff, vocational stuff, you don't count as a school, and then it was not allowed or permitted? Because in my reading of the old code, it seems like we should have just allowed it. But did somebody try and do a vocational school and then we put the kibosh on it? Or was it simply somebody asked and we said, well, it's not that clear, let's update it? Like, I'm trying to find out why this is even in front of us.
Thank you. So we've received inquiries throughout the years of allowing this use in the area, and when we were looking at the code and as we've looked throughout the years, we noticed that there were some discrepancies and inconsistencies. So for that, we're bringing it before the council to clean it up, because the use itself is not listed, it's defined, and then it's also referenced in our general school definition.
We're adding it to the general definition.
We're removing the reference to vocational and professional schools. So we're
I see.
creating we're
Whole
distinguishing.
separate section for that.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it. We've had inquiries before, and because it wasn't clear and concise, it fell into a non-permitted use?
It fell under the general school category, and therefore since that use is prohibited in the industrial zones, we cannot allow that use in there.
I see. So it caught into it fell into that category, and therefore wasn't permitted in that zoning. Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Councilmember Mullins.
Just a quick thought on his question. So can now a school be allowed to open in the new zone? Because since the regular school can open now, with the new zone, does that change? Or
Thank you, Councilmember. No, it doesn't. So schools will continue to be prohibited in the industrial zones.
Very good. But Scott Planbeck, Plan Manager. So the reason why we separated out vocational schools from typical K through 12 schools is because of the operational needs of a vocational school. And so that's why we did that, created a different definition for vocational schools. Vocational schools will now be permitted with a conditional use permit in the industrial zones. Prior, they were not allowed in the industrial zones. And based on their operational needs, it made sense that we would allow them in industrial zones.
Sorry, you mean administrative use permit?
No, we're going to we're going to allow administrative use permits when it's adjacent to residential and the commercial districts.
Okay.
But in the industrial districts, vocational schools will be a conditional use permit.
I gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
I have one other question in regards to residentials around that area. Is there going to be any residentials impact? Like single-family home, multi-units, and impacted by the change that we're making?
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. So some of the M1 zones are adjacent to residential properties, but under the conditional use permit, we'll evaluate the use, which requires that we meet findings of compatibility, capacity, add conditions to mitigate any potential impacts.
So through the CUP process, this is when you determine if somebody qualifies to open another vocational school or another school, if you will, in that area?
Go ahead.
So when we do a conditional use permit, right now, what we're proposing is allowing conditional use schools, vocational schools to go into the industrial zones with a conditional use permit. So what we're going to be doing as part of that is looking at, as part of the conditional use permit process, look at compatibility with surrounding uses. So when we do that, we want to make sure that there's the parking, that there won't be traffic impacts to protect the surrounding uses and neighborhoods. So that's the goal. Where in other parts of the city where we require an administrative use permit adjacent to residential, we do that because we want to protect those neighborhoods. We want to make sure that the school that moves in is not impacting the surrounding neighborhood, so we have an extra layer of protection for those neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to share with us the location of this vocational school?
This isn't a hearing on a specific
okay.
use.
So
This is a hearing to allow the use in the M1 and M2 and make definitional changes.
Okay, I was looking at the pictures here in the PowerPoint presentation, wondering where is this at? So just to get an idea about the vocational school. Thank you.
All right, those are your questions? Okay, who has questions? No? Vice Mayor Takahashi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a really needed thing to do. I do have some questions about the implementation of it, so particularly around the picture that you gave on, I forget what page it is now, but the picture of examples of industrial zones. This side over here. So a lot of these areas in here that are industrial or light industrial are pretty packed, are pretty dense. So if a trade school moves into that area, it says that it's one parking per student, right? But does that mean that there has to be parking already established on the site? Is off-street parking count as one parking per student? How will the parking requirements be implemented with this use of industrial sites?
So the parking requirement must be provided on site. In some of the properties that we saw, there was a few that did look like they had the capacity to potentially accommodate the use.
Okay.
So whenever we look at a use, we do look at their operation to see if they're gonna provide the parking that's required for it. So for this use, it'll be based on the number of students that they'll have. But we also have other provisions in the code to allow either a reduction based on their operation when accompanied by a parking study. And then also, we also allow shared parking agreements. So if their site doesn't have enough parking and they can't, make the changes to it, they can, utilize the parking on a surrounding property as long as they get through an agreement.
Okay. And then the one parking per student is the one parking per student on site, right?
Yes, that is.
Not all the students that are at the school, but
Correct,
just,
yeah,
okay,
that
great.
works.
Thank you. And then in one of the slides, under subsequent updates, clarifications, number 1, it says, this ordinance clarifies that the existing permissibility of trade vocational schools in other non-residential zones will be carried over for the new use. Can you, I'm not quite following what that is saying. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, if I can refer you to slide 15. It's the last one.
I see 14, and let's see 15.
We only have up to
14.
slide 14.
Ah, we don't have this beautiful graph. Okay.
Oh, we have it on the screen. Thank you.
Oh, there it is on the screen.
So just want to visually depict what
Just for note for anybody out there, it's not in any physical packets,
Okay.
but it's on the screen. Thank you.
So what I want to show is that, so we have the school use, and under the general commercial zones, we're carrying over what is currently permitted in those areas. So for example, if you look at C2, it's currently P allowed by right with AUP in parentheses, which indicates that it will require an AUP if it's within 150 feet of a residential property. So it's just, we're just carrying over what we currently require for the use, the process, the review process.
Got it. Okay, yeah, this really helps. Thank you.
And
so
just to
much.
clarify, there is an example, the table itself is actually in attachment 2-17 of your packet as well.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So it's available online already. Great. And so my last question is, we heard from a public comment of someone who's looking to potentially have a trade school in industrial zone. Have we had any other inquiries? And if we do pass this tonight, how soon would we might see some trade schools pop? How would that process work? How soon would we see them?
So we have received, in this past year, we've received two inquiries about allowing them in these zones. And once the amendment, is passed, after the effective date, they can submit if they're going into the industrial zones, submit their CUP application, and we can start the review process. But currently, in any other zone, the uses can submit as required by the land use table.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Rosati?
Was there a nursing school or vocational school that went into the old Airmark site, or is that something different? Was that a vocational school?
Are you talking about that was the one that came downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mayor Perez, council members, yes, Councilmember Rosati, there is, I think there was a notification that was sent out about a new tenant that would be a nursing school that would be going into the Aramark building, which is off of First Street. We do have an inquiry for property in the industrial zone that Ms. Quiroz was noting, and they're just waiting for the effective implementation of the ordinance to be able to submit. So once we have that, and we've had a couple of other inquiries for vocational schools, as staff has referenced. So they are like waiting for this to be completed so that they could formally submit. But we've been working with, and actually the member of the public that came up and spoke is one of those interested parties. So we are actively working. This was kind of a short, fast push to get this implemented as opposed to waiting for the specific plan to implement this effort. But we thought it was warranted because of your goals from an economic development standpoint, and also the economic development strategy, that we redouble our effort to complete this and not wait till the specific plan. So that's why it's before you.
Got it.
But really quick to the council member's point, the one that's in downtown is not impacted by this, right?
No, as a matter of fact, the table that was on the screen, what we did is we reaffirmed the fact that we wanted to be very clear, and that was a point that the commission actually flagged for us, was what about the schools that are already in existence, which I believe there's about 4, if I'm correct. And those, we wanted to make sure they didn't become non-conforming. So those are noted on that list, and we're reaffirming that they're allowed to go in, whether it's permitted or through an administrative use permit in those areas. The uniqueness of the industrial zone was a very important thing, because we do not want to, I'll use this word, maybe it's not a bad word, but kill off very important industrial uses that currently exist in those areas. And one of the things we typically hear when there's conflict in the industrial zones is there's very limited on-street parking. And existing industrial uses that are there, that's their livelihood, right? Their lifeblood. So if we introduce a use that has a lot of parking demand, we want to make sure we're analyzing it, make sure that the location that they're going into is going to have sufficient parking. And that's why you have that parking standard that's in front of you.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate that, because my one question was going to be about unintended consequences or the possibility for that.
The CUP is a safeguard. I hope so.
Thank you. Councilmember Anthony?
Just real quick, you said the planning commission caught this and asked for the older zoning to be reaffirmed?
No, the planning commission asked a question about what about those uses? Are they going to continue to be allowed? And what we did in the language that's before you is we clarified on the table that it continues to be the case. So,
okay, great. Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions? No? Okay.
I can make a motion if you'd like. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, we got to close the hearing, right?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. But did you have another? Okay. All right. All right. I now declare the hearing closed and the council will now deliberate. What is the council's pleasure? Councilor Rosati.
I just want to say it's a great idea to retool some of these areas. There is, I can tell you, there is a need for vocational schools. Burbank would be a great location to relocate those schools in all different ways. It could be media, it could be nursing. There's so many different avenues. And I do think there's a lot of vacant properties in these areas that can be reinvigorated with a school. So I think this is a great idea, a good catch on staff.
Councilor Anthony.
Yeah, I want to save our guy from Sochi some commute time, get him here in Burbank, so.
Councilmember Mullins.
I just, kudos to staff for bringing this up before our specific plans, because those can take some time, so we're happy. I'm excited to see more schools coming into Burbank, so thank you.
And Vice Mayor Takahashi.
Just briefly, echoing my sentiments of my colleagues here. We talked about diversification of our economic portfolio, and schools was one of those, and trade schools in particular. And we've talked about also partnering with the high schools, with the trade schools that we have, and increasing that partnership. So I'm really glad that thank you to staff for being creative and working through this now and allowing this use. I really hope that folks in the community take advantage of it and we see some really interesting opportunities for trade schools here that maybe even beyond the typical, but we could definitely have a good source of ways for our high schoolers and other folks in the surrounding areas to be able to get into different industries. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, and I appreciate your work on this like everybody else, and really appreciate the attention to detail with these potential unintended consequences by looking at the parking and all of that. And I do encourage and invite you all to bring us forward any amendments if issues do arise. So thank you. Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, introduce an ordinance of the City Council of Burbank, amending Title 10, Chapter 1, zoning of the Burbank Municipal Code to establish a school, trade, vocational as new use along with related regulations. Allow the use of M1 limited industrial and M2 general industrial zones and clarify the permissibility of the use of other non-residential zones. Project number 250004932, zone text amendment.
Second.
Oh, damn it.
Lost my voice.
Okay, after that very long motion and the second by Councilor Anthony, let's take a vote.
Councilmember Anthony?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Councilmember Rosati?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Takahashi?
Yes.
And Mayor Perez?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
No, nobody ever applauds for us, but thank you.
We have two reports to council this evening. After staff's presentation, the city council will proceed with in-person public comment only. Speakers will be allowed to speak on the item at the conclusion of the presentation, and as long as the speaker has not spoken on this item during the first period of general public comment. Please be sure to submit comment cards now, and no cards will be accepted following staff's presentation once the public comment period commences. The first report to council tonight is the introduction of an ordinance establishing Article 10, use of gas-powered leaf blowers prohibited in Chapter 1, Health, Title 4, Health and Sanitation of the Burbank Municipal Code, and amending Section 214, restrictions on leaf blower operation in Chapter 3, Title 9 of the Burbank Municipal Code. I welcome Ms. Katie Pica, Thank you for being here, Administrative Officer in the Community Development Department, to now present the report.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Perez, members of the City Council. Again, my name is Katie Pica, the Administrative Officer for Community Development. Here with me tonight is Juan Carlos Maria, our Senior Code Compliance Inspector. And tonight we are proposing an ordinance to ban the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in the city of Burbank. Staff brought this topic to Council for discussion on September 10th, 2024, and again on July 29th, 2025, after a request was made by 2 council members, including Vice Mayor Takahashi. At the July 29th, 2025 council meeting, council directed staff to develop an ordinance banning the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in the city. It was also requested that staff provide a grace period of 1 year from the effective date to allow residents and business owners time to transition their equipment. During this transition period, there would be comprehensive community outreach and education provided, along with information and resources to assist the community in transitioning their equipment. As discussed with Council previously, the proposed ordinance will supplement the existing state law and executive order by banning the use of gas-powered leaf blowers within the city by establishing Article 10, Use of Gas-Powered Leaf Blowers Prohibited, and Chapter 1, Health, Title 4, Health and Sanitation of the Burbank Municipal Code, and by amending Section 214, Restrictions on Leaf Blower Operation, and Chapter 3, Title 9 of the Burbank Municipal Code. Currently, the Burbank Municipal Code regulates leaf blower noise only. The establishment will prohibit the use of gas-powered leaf blowers anywhere in the city, while the amendment updates the existing definition of leaf blowers to not apply to gas-powered leaf blowers as they are prohibited. If the proposed ordinance is adopted, it will establish a ban on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers within the city. In addition, there'll be a 1-year grace period for residents and business owners to transition to zero-emission leaf blowers. During this 1-year grace period, staff will conduct extensive multilingual outreach to the community, which will include education and awareness, and provide resources for assistance with potential economic impacts and/or replacement costs. The year-long outreach will include things such as a community meeting, e-notify notifications, social media posts, City Council mayor's announcements, city website postings, announcements at the Sustainable Burbank Commission meetings, Burbank Water and Power Currents advertisement, handouts at public events, flyers at city facilities, mailers, and a press release. During this time, enforcement measures will still be in place as part of the education and outreach process. Code compliance inspectors will issue warnings to the person responsible for authorizing the work using a gas-powered leaf blower, regardless of the ownership of the gas-powered leaf blower, and provide educational material to those in violation. However, citations for the use of gas-powered leaf blowers will not be issued until January of 2027. Implementing a ban on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers will result in additional costs to the city, estimated at about $185,000, a one-time cost to upgrade or replace the city's equipment and vehicles with ongoing operating costs. For the city's large maintenance contracts, it's estimated that pass-through costs for upgrading equipment, charging infrastructure, and multiple batteries needed to complete a day's work may result into a 15 to 30% increase. For the citywide landscape maintenance contract overseen by Public Works, this can result in additional recurring charges of between $26,000 to $54,000 per year for a standard 5-year agreement. These estimates do not include the recurring costs of maintenance and electricity for charging and implementation costs for enforcement measures. It should be noted that the city is eligible to apply for the Commercial Electric Lawn and Garden Equipment Incentive and Exchange Program. This reduces the purchase price of commercial-grade battery, electric, and lawn garden equipment by up to 85%. In conclusion, staff recommends that Council introduce the proposed ordinance banning the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in the city of Burbank, with a 1-year grace period on enforcement. With this additional time to plan and obtain assistance with the available incentive programs, residents, workers, and business owners will have the resources needed to switch to zero-emission leaf blowers over time while mitigating the impacts to the community and the city. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for the report, Ms. Pica. Before we go on to questions, do we have any public comment, Madam City Clerk?
We do not.
Okay, there being no public comment, we move on to council questions. Who would like to begin with questions? Councilmember Mullins.
I don't have any questions. Obviously, we have given directions to staff back in July. I do appreciate that they came back with more an outline to how we are going to move forward in the next year before we start actually implementing the program, or even going out and looking at who's in violation. So I do like the fact that you broke down, what you're doing each quarter of the year and how we're going to get there. It was very clear. We do have a period of time when we need to educate our community, also our gardeners, and we have work to do ourselves in the city. So I just ask that people to be patient with us. We're working on it. We're getting there. We have something before us that we are looking to adopt. So eventually it will happen, and we'll have a full ban on it. Not today, but we will have it really soon. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mons. I know I have a question from Councilor Anthony.
We had a public commenter at the general public comment who mentioned, and yeah, Armand's been on this for a while. He mentioned two things. One, he disagreed that the sound mitigation would be minimal. He said it would be a lot. He also mentioned the pollution cut down. Can you just give us a little bit of understanding of what kind of he was talking about, and what are you potentially seeing with sound pollution and air pollution?
Yes, thank you. So with the sound of a leaf blower, a gas power one is measured in decibels, which you get a lower, louder vibration sound, whereas an electric one is more like a pitch, so it's more like a higher wheezing sound. So it just depends on an individual, essentially, like if you're more sensitive to that lower pitch or that higher pitch. The general consensus is most people feel that the electric or the battery-powered ones are less noisy, but then again, it's also a person's, how they interpret the sound. So it could be different for me compared to my colleague here. But the overall consensus is that the sound will be better. But like I said, it goes back to individual, how an individual interprets that. When it comes to pollution, there have been studies that have shown it will significantly reduce pollution. I believe it's like running a gas power leaf blower for I have the exact figures, but it is maybe 30 minutes or so is equivalent to like driving 100 miles or something like that with a car. I'm sorry, I know that is probably not exact, and I'm probably going to get feedback. But what was said during public comment was, yes, that was correct, yes. There is a lot of pollution contributed to the use of gas powered leaf blowers through various studies.
Thank you.
The reason I bring that up, the ear is filled with a bunch of little hairs that detect sound, different sizes, different levels. As we age, the ones that hear higher pitches die off. So as we get older, we don't hear the higher pitches as much.
My hearing is perfect.
I
Councilor Mons
rescind
would
the
like
question
to
then, and I
disagree.
take it back.
You're right. I do have one question. Not about my hearing, but I know at one time we talked about batteries and where they're going to be disposed of, and because now we're going to have a lot more batteries than we currently have, obviously. Did we ever figure out, do we have an answer to that?
That's an excellent question. For one, never put them in the landfill, but I'm not sure if we figured out that question specifically. I could always look into that and report back on that information.
Yeah, just an email that would be great,
Absolutely.
or a memo or something. Because I remember that was part of our discussion at the first time the report came before us. To what are we going to do with all these batteries? Where do we dispose of them? And I think it'll be helpful if we also put something out on the website in the event that some of our gardeners in the community or just people owning those type of equipment that they want to dispose of the batteries.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing nods on that, so.
It's okay. A follow-up question on that. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if I understand correctly, the electric-powered leaf blowers, they have batteries, but they're rechargeable batteries, right? So it's not, they do get used up over time, but it will not be as if like yeah. And then I wanted to also just touch base on that. Maybe we can get a little bit of information based on our city is already starting to convert our leaf blowers to electric, I believe. And I'm wondering if we're already seeing the lifespan of batteries completed, or are we still using the same batteries? Are we seeing an increase in batteries? That'd be great information.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Mike Del Campo, Burbank Parks and Recreation Assistant Director. Sorry, I forgot. Yes, we still have our same batteries. We haven't gone through them yet. So when we get to our goal is that 2026 to be 100% battery powered, we'll probably start going through them a lot more. But right now, we're still doing a mix of gas and batteries. So we're not really, I can't really give you 100% on what the real trial is. But by next year, I can email you guys or keep you updated on what we're doing. And I can also answer that question about the battery recycling. A lot of the big box stores like Home Depot, AutoZone, they'll take the batteries back right now. But if we're bringing back 30 at a time, that might be an issue. So we have to look into where that's at. But some of these bigger vendors will, and there's a like battery to sell California Recycle. It also does it too. So.
Councilor Rosati?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In our last conversation about this, we talked about, were we going to retrofit trucks so they could charge, or were we going to take extra batteries and keep them in a safe location? I know we talked about it, so.
Correct. Yes, that's part of the equipment upgrades. Our trucks are going to get inverters put in them, but we're also going to need extra batteries too, because we can't. There's just not enough. We'd have to rechange all our truck beds and stuff like that to do. We could get 1 or 2 charging at one time, but we couldn't do like 6 or 7, and that's what we're finding that we need to do a whole park.
And does the truck have to be running to charge the battery?
The inverter, the truck doesn't have to be going. The inverter doesn't. I think it can run off a separate battery that does that, but I don't know. I have to follow you. I'll have to ask Fleet Services on that. So that's their.
So we would have a separate battery, not the main battery that runs the truck.
Correct.
But a separate battery.
The ones I've used in the past, the truck does not have to be running to have the inverter going.
Got it. Okay.
But you have to turn the truck on every couple hours. I mean, you should be turning it on every couple hours just because it'll. So yes.
Got it.
But I can find out exactly. But that's just one I've used in the past. So.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. My questions are a little bit more about outreach and all of that. Can you go a little bit more in depth into the outreach program? Because the reality is the folks that we're trying to target are going to be kind of the homeowners, the rental property owners, and the gardeners. And do we have any targeted attempts for these specific groups?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. Absolutely. So we definitely have, our standard process of reaching out through the website and social media and flyers and things of that sort. But we like to do the Burbank way. So we want to do a more personal touch. And that's why we have the, what we're calling the boots on the ground approach, where when we do get those complaints about violations and things like that, we're not just going to go and issue warnings or citations or things like that. We're going to go and educate. We're going to go provide resources. We're going to have handouts when we approach that explains the new ordinance. The handouts are also going to give you information on those rebates and incentive programs. It's going to give information on how to contact Burbank Water and Power for their program as well. And we're going to be working very closely to make sure we're at public events. We're going to have a community meeting and make sure we have opportunities for people to come ask questions. We might be able to get some equipment into those meetings to get some demos going. So we're real excited to get the word out there, but we're very much about that personal approach. And we want to make sure everyone has the resources and the information they need. So this is a successful program all around.
And can we also put the information on for the folks who still receive their bill in paper? Can we put the little slip in there, letting them know?
I can definitely work with Burbank Water and Power on that.
That's
Yes.
just, I think, the widest reach we probably have, since most of those folks are customers. Let's see. And on the slip itself, would be helpful if we put something addressed at homeowners and at tenants, like this is what you need to do, or like please let your property owner know.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And then the other question I have is, have we thought about how we're going to approach sensitively the subject of talking to folks like gardeners who are out and about? You know, how are we going to approach those conversations? I know it's a population that is very afraid right now to talk to folks. There's a lot of distrust. So have we thought about how we're going to navigate that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a friendly conversation is what we're looking to do. If they don't want to speak with us, we're not going to, force them or anything of that sort. But we'll definitely offer information to them, information to the homeowner or the place that they're working, so maybe they can pass that along as well. And obviously, give the contact information should they want to follow up later, maybe through a phone call or something of that sort.
Will we have flyers in multiple languages?
Yes, we're going to have multilingual outreach. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's very helpful. Those are all my questions. Anything else? Councilor Mullins.
Just a comment to add to what you just said, Madam Mayor. And I think the good news is most gardeners are aware out there right now that the law has changed. And because I almost, every Wednesday I talk to my gardener and then my neighbor's gardener, and they're anticipating, they keep asking, oh, so when is this happening? I'm like, not yet, but start changing your equipment. So, because they can't buy the gas equipment. So I think it's not going to be a shocking visit or a surprise to most of them. And I think that what we did on council is to give them that grace period to work on that is extremely helpful in the education too. That goes a long way. I think by the time we're ready to implement this, they're all going to be having new equipment or feel comfortable enough that they can, change their equipment. So it's all positive.
Yeah, and I appreciate the 1 year grace period. I was giving birth the day y'all talked about that. But I think it's good because we as a city have constantly emphasized the importance of education. Our goal here is not to penalize anybody. It is to help you make the switch. So I appreciate us having that grace period. I just want to make sure we're also putting out materials to folks in different languages and in a way that, doesn't seem punitive. So, and in a way that also helps them understand that it should really eventually go to the homeowner. Because I know that can sometimes be a very hard place to get from point A to B. I know I often get mail that I'm like, this is for my landlord. I'm lucky enough that I'm like, hey, I got this and this and this, but that may not be the case for folks. So I want to make sure it makes it to the right person. Any other questions?
I do want to add that I did find out that we can drop off the batteries at the recycling center for free if you're a Burbank resident, and that's at 500 South Flower.
Great.
Yeah. And also, I did find that statistic about the gas pollution, and if you're interested, so 1 hour equals about driving 1,000 miles.
Wow. Probably worse than all of us thought. Okay. Any other comments, thoughts? Vice Mayor Takashi.
Thank you. This was originally my item that I brought up a long time ago, and it may have been one of my earliest items on the agenda. So I know, right? I think when I first elected. So this has been really, I'm so happy to be here where we are now, having walked through this. And I know while this was the item that I agendized, I wasn't the only one who was behind it. So, but I do appreciate the movement that we've made on this item, inching forward bit by bit to see us here eventually. Thank you to staff for working on this through this and our requests and figuring out a way to work a way to educate and get this implemented without hopefully too much struggle or difficulty converting. And also thank you to staff already at Parker Rec for making conversions already and getting ahead of it. And I like that we are already getting ahead of it so that when we are educating the folks in the community, we're already doing it. So we're not asking them to do something we're not doing yet. So the more that we get closer to 100%, the more we can encourage the folks in the community to do it too and be a good model. And thank you to council for getting here as well, and the community for patience in this. And then the enforcement, that was the biggest question, and that was one of the biggest questions, and you answered all the mayor's questions, and then it's all this process we've been talking about enforcement. So I really appreciate the care and time that you've taken to create an effective process, because it's so easy to make an ordinance and then maybe it's not so easy to enforce. And so we in Burbank have a history that if we're going to make an ordinance, we enforce the ding thing. And so I appreciate that you made a plan for that. And while keeping in mind the sensitive nature of what's going on right now. So this is not just a posturing ordinance, this is for realsies, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the process what we're at now, and I really, really like this ordinance, so thank you.
Would you like to do the honors?
Oh, are we there yet?
I think we're there. Yeah.
Hey, oh, no, well, yeah, if we're there, I for sure want to make a motion. I'm going to make an official motion. Introduction of an ordinance. Where are we at? Introduction of an ordinance establishing Article 10 use of gas-powered leaf blowers prohibited in Chapter 1 Health, Title 4 Health and Sanitation of the Burbank Municipal Code, and amending Section 214 restrictions on leaf blower operation in Chapter 3, Title 9 of the Burbank Municipal Code.
Second.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's take the vote.
Councilmember Anthony?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Councilmember Rosati?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Takahashi?
Woohoo!
And Mayor
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Thank you.
I take
A
the
woohoo,
woohoo
yes.
as a yes.
Woohoo, yes.
Great. 5-0. All right. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you all. The second report to council tonight is an introduction of an ordinance establishing Title 7, Chapter 3, Article 11, and amending Section 1002, Title 10, Chapter 1, Article 10 of the Burbank Municipal Code to allow the implementation of wayfinding kiosks in the public right-of-way. I welcome Ms. Courtney Paget back, Assistant City Manager, to please present the report.
Hello.
Welcome.
Again. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. Courtney Paget with the City Manager's Office, and tonight I will be presenting the introduction of an ordinance related to the potential implementation of wayfinding kiosk in the City of Burbank. This ordinance establishes the regulatory framework needed to allow interactive wayfinding kiosks within the public right-of-way, and it also includes related amendments to the city's signage and encroachment regulations. Council first discussed this topic on July 15, 2025, when you received a first step report in response to a request from Councilmember Mullins. At that meeting, Council directed staff to return with information on the feasibility of a program to include recommended municipal code changes. The proposed ordinance before you reflects that direction. Earlier this evening, during a study session, Council received an update on the overall progress and approach for the kiosk program implementation. Wayfinding kiosks are interactive digital displays used in many cities across the country to provide real-time public information such as city news and services, community events, emergency notices, and information on local transit and businesses. They also allow for controlled commercial advertising consistent with the terms of a city-approved agreement. To support this type of program in Burbank, amendments to the Burbank Municipal Code are necessary. Under the city's current zoning regulations, electronic and self-illuminated signs are prohibited, and any structure placed in the public right-of-way must comply with the street's regulations. The proposed ordinance creates a clear and consistent regulatory framework that allows these kiosks, subject to city approval, to be installed safely and responsibly. Specifically, the ordinance establishes a new Article 11 in the Streets Chapter 3 of Title 7, Public Ways and Property of the Burbank Municipal Code that defines wayfinding kiosk and allows their temporary or permanent placement in the right-of-way for a public purpose or benefit under an approved operating agreement with the city. The article also establishes the following objective standards. Sound. Kiosks shall not emit sound, remaining silent except for two-way audio to contact emergency services, limited to 70 decibels or less. Refresh rate. Kiosks shall have a non-controlled or automatic refresh rate of no more frequently than once every 10 seconds or 6 times per minute. Lighting. Kiosks shall be internally illuminated and include an automatic dimmer control to adjust brightness between 1/2 hour before sunset and 1/2 hour after sunrise. A light sensing device may further adjust brightness as ambient light conditions change. Brightness standards include maximum brightness restrictions with reduced intensity, shading or directional adjustment if a residential property is within 200 feet. Lighting shall not interfere with official traffic signs, signals, or devices, and kiosks shall automatically shut off between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. unless equipped with automatic dimming that meets these standards. These standards are consistent with the city's general plan. In addition to entering into an approved operating agreement with the city, kiosk owners must, at their own expense, apply for and obtain all required permits, including an encroachment permit, and comply with all regulations in the Burbank Municipal Code prior to installation. Encroachment permit applications must include a certification that the city's lighting standards have been satisfied. The ordinance also includes enforcement provisions that whenever a kiosk is found to be unsafe or maintained in violation of any provision of the article, the city may issue a notice requiring the owner to repair, modify, reconstruct, demolish, or remove the kiosk as necessary to achieve compliance. Required work must be completed within 10 days of the notice unless a written extension is granted by the Public Works Director. Failure to comply may result in revocation of the permit, administrative citations, default under the operating agreement, or any other action available under local, state, and federal law. In addition, the ordinance makes related amendments to the sign regulations that clarify wayfinding kiosks are exempt from the city's general sign prohibitions, and it updates encroachment permit requirements to reflect how kiosk installations will be reviewed and permitted. These amendments provide a clear regulatory framework to ensure that kiosks are installed safely, operate in compliance with city standards, and deliver a public benefit while protecting residential areas and minimizing environmental impacts. The ordinance has been reviewed for California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, compliance, and has been found categorically exempt under several applicable classes. In addition, the proposed ordinance and noted code amendments have been reviewed to ensure consistency with the city's general plan, including consideration of appropriate distances from residential areas. These findings were developed with support from the city's environmental consultant and are included as attachments 2 and 3 to the staff report. There is no fiscal impact associated with the adoption of this ordinance. Any future installation, operation, or maintenance will be fully funded by the kiosk owner under an approved operating agreement with the city, and revenue sharing would also be addressed through that agreement. In closing, this ordinance provides the necessary regulatory framework to support the establishment of a wayfinding kiosk program should council choose to move forward. That concludes my presentation, and staff are available to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Paget. Madam City Clerk, any public comment?
We do not have any.
Okay, thank you. You sure? All right, we have one member of the public left. Back there. Okay, there being no public comment, we now move on to council questions. Any questions? How dare you? I'm just kidding, no. Go ahead. No, go for it.
I just thought about something.
You're all
I
good,
didn't
Joe.
think about it earlier. With our bus shelters in Metro having advertisements, my understanding that they're also going to be bringing electronic signage that will be placed on the bus shelters. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the city will be exploring digital advertisements for our bus shelters in the coming year.
Okay, so part of the code change, is that going to be include Metro? Because I notice here that we're specifically saying the kiosk, but was that not the chaos, the kiosk? Would that be then added later for Metro or the bus shelters?
The current ordinance amendments that you see before you would also apply to any future advertising that would occur in the public right of way at the bus shelters.
Okay. And is that something we're going to be entering in an agreement with them as well? And what type of advertisements are going to be placed in there, or we don't have control over that?
Ray Joel with the City Attorney's Office. Good evening. So at this point, we haven't moved forward with an RFP yet for the bus shelter advertising program, but we are willing to, or we are open to determining which what sorts of technology is available, and at that point, we would need to engage in a contract with the selected vendors for that. But the way this code amendment's written is to include wayfinding digital signage that hopefully will incorporate any sort of bus shelter kiosks or signage that we intend to implement. If not, we would have to come back and amend this section.
And just to clarify, an earlier speaker said something about, oh, we're going to be like Santa Monica and billboards and big electronic signs. That is not our intent, right?
No, it's not. And this ordinance specifically prohibits large-scale signage. It's very, it has dimensional restrictions. It also has a key purpose for wayfinding and a public benefit associated with the signage.
Okay, so, and I know, when the public hears electronic signage, the reaction is like, if you drive on Sunset Boulevard, you'll see electronic signage, and that's a complete different ordinance. That's not what we're proposing here for Burbank, is to expand it beyond what we have in front of us here tonight. Is that accurate?
At this point, yes, the ordinance would only be for small-scale digital signage that complies with the dimensions as listed in the ordinance.
Okay, great, thank you. And I do have another question, Madam Mayor, and it might...
Don't look at me like that, I was joking. Go ask your questions, you can ask your questions.
No, I didn't know if anybody else wants to jump in. I just... as the speakers were talking, my brain was starting to work and, to have these questions. And if I may ask Mr. Green to come up? I'll put him on the spot. Thank you for coming up. So earlier during the public comments, and the speakers were concerned about glare and accidents, and can you maybe, and I know you had a little chance to tell us a little about glare and the disruption in people driving. If you can just describe what the kiosk would look like and the control of dimming the screen, or just walk us through this, and how would somebody see it?
She said distraction of people driving, not destruction.
Did I say destruction? I don't know what I'm saying. I just took 2 pills from my cold. I don't know what I'm saying. No, distraction.
Yep. Thank you, Councilmember Mullins. My name is Aaron Green. I'm with the AFRIA Consulting Group. We represent Ike Smart City. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and to address that question. For a little bit of context, Ike is currently active in 24 cities, including a number in the state of California. The Ike kiosks, relatively speaking, are small when it is sort of compared to other pieces of street furniture. And there are a number of different methods that are used to ensure that that Ike doesn't incorporate any sort of driver distraction features. So that is, begins at the technology itself. So the way that the LED is programmed, it includes the way that the glass is tempered so it doesn't create glare or reflectiveness. In addition, there is programming that's put in place, and this is something that, should the council decide to move forward with a contract, ultimately gets written into a contract that states that there can be no, for instance, strobing effects or sort of pulsating, anything that might become distracting to a driver. In addition to that, and I think staff did a really good job of putting very firm parameters on how these any kiosk in the city could operate when it comes to automatic dimming. So there is very thoughtful technology that takes into account what is the actual experience of somebody who is in a particular location in a particular moment in time when it comes to light. It's not dissimilar from your cell phone, but it's more high tech than that. And so that technology is mandated in the ordinance that's before you. That is the same technology that is incorporated into the Ike kiosk. And so all of those features, should the council decide to pursue this contract, would be worked into that technology to provide that protection for the public.
Thank you. Appreciate you explaining that.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Those are my questions right now.
Questions?
Sorry to bring it back up. On average, how long are your contracts with these other cities?
Clay Collette again with Ike. On average, our contracts are 20 years.
Have you seen sort of renegotiation midstream on certain issues or changes and stuff like that, or?
No, I mean, we've made minor amendments from time to time as you evolve the program, but we've never defaulted on a contract and never had a major issue. And I think what we proposed here was, I think, a 10-year initial term with a 10-year renewal if we're in good standing at the end of the first initial term.
Amendments have been made. So
Yeah.
if something is found not to our liking, there's no reason why we can't come to you guys and say, hey, can we tweak this? Can we tweak that?
Absolutely. The whole spirit of our deal is that we're entering into a partnership, and so we're putting in the capital, but ultimately we're all sharing in the success of the program, and so we want to be good partners in that way.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, to clarify for the public, this agenda item is for a regulatory ordinance, not a contract.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So for this ordinance and the regulation changes, it's not specifically for Ike kiosks, even though this particular kiosk opportunity is providing us for a reason potentially to be looking at opening up the public right-of-way for potential public signage or electronic wayfinding. But that's not the reason we're doing this for the general policy for any kind of electronic wayfinding, correct?
If I could answer that question, the city has had for more than a decade, probably close to 2 decades, a bus shelter agreement with 2 different outdoor media advertising companies. Each of those bus shelters, or many of them, feature a static advertising display. Those agreements have been extended so that their terms match, so that at the expiration, the city can go out for a competitive solicitation for all of the bus shelter advertising. And this code was written so that it would apply to both sorts of displays, with the notable difference that Mr. Johal mentioned, and that is that there is a community benefit, community information, or wayfinding component, regardless of whether it's in a bus shelter or standalone, that the city will derive the benefit of community resource information, changing message, and the ability for people either traveling through or residing in the city to get useful information.
Yeah. Okay, so the question I have, thank you for answering that. So the question I have, I'm curious about, now that the public comment and we're having this discussion came up in a question for me, is with this ordinance, could you please elaborate on why we are choosing to use kiosk versus, say, electric wayfinding signage in general? So let's just say, for example, like the bus shelter is not really a kiosk, it's kind of like a wall you put on the thing. Or if we were to put electronic signage on a public building or something. So would this cover just specifically standalone like kiosk, or is this for any public right-of-way signage on any kind of situation? So someone might be clear on that.
So it's listed as a kiosk, but our understanding is that bus shelters or standalone kiosks are referred to as digital signage or kiosks. So we wanted to be as inclusive as possible when we were looking at this sort of an ordinance, and based upon size and dimensions and sort of restrictions on use, and it having a primary purpose for a public benefit, to provide public benefit, we felt that was enough to restrict the use of these types of devices to be kiosks, bus shelters, but not large-scale Las Vegas type signage.
As a follow-up to that, is there anything else other than bus shelters and these kiosks that would fall under the category of kiosk?
Not that I'm aware of, based off of the technology that we're seeing in our neighboring cities.
Okay.
So,
well, a kiosk generally is some sort of information device at our community services building to check in for your appointment, there's a kiosk. A vehicle charging interface display could be a kiosk. We have started to notice that some of the vehicle charging apparatus on private property have digital displays on them. Some of them, I'm not sure, I think the size is a slightly smaller form factor. But the idea is that, as Mr. Johal indicated, a smaller form factor as opposed to large media advertising.
Gas stations essentially have these kiosks.
That's correct.
Those are kiosks, okay.
Yeah, those are kiosks. But this is, since we're talking about the public right-of-way, that was my question, if there's anything else at all that could potentially fall into this kiosk.
Well, I'd like to add that even if at some point in the future, as technology changes, if there were some other type of new technology that kind of fell in this realm, it would still have to go through an approved agreement process with the city. So we would still evaluate it, we would still have to permit it, we would still do an approved agreement with the city. So it's not like some new technology will come around and can just automatically come and implement themselves in the public right of way.
And so what's important with the word kiosk, it could be a different word. It's really the interaction, that this is an interactive device where the community can approach it and get information. So whether it is a touch-sensitive display or whether the city's rotating message displays our QR codes for the 311 app or a downtown Burbank event on San Fernando or nonprofit, either nonprofit events or nonprofit contact information. The city already is in the practice of generating QR codes, and that is a form of interaction. And so that's really what we're trying to communicate here.
Thank you. Councilmember Anthony?
So here's some fun rabbit holes. The original Kosk in Turkish is about the selling space, the open market. The French kiosk derived from that was the small salesman shop that had usually a person in it, what we in the United States would call a bodega, right? And then that transferred to what happened in indoor malls, where you didn't have the stores, you had the kiosks, which is what we stole from the French. And then those were slowly replaced with the informational wayfinding terminals, which then we call kiosks. And so now anything that is simply a point of service touchscreen terminal that gives you information is now what we call kiosk. So it's had a long road to get to that phrase. And so, yeah, technically what I'm reading in here is that we don't define kiosk as just a point of service terminal, which we have plenty of them around the city. It does open it up to basically any type of information gathering service that has a screen, and that's kind of what we're regulating. So yeah, currently it would only apply to the bus spaces and then this, but in theory, if we have something else that is proposed in the public right-of-way, a map, an interactive whatever, it could potentially fall under this. So the definitions are funny.
To staff's point, though, we would still have to go through the vetting and contract process, so that's helpful.
Yeah, just looking for clarification of what it covered. I'm wondering if there might be, to Councilmember Anthony's point, there might be a benefit in defining what a kiosk is, just to make sure that we know what the heck it is, because there's so many. To me, it took me a bit to think about when I think of kiosk, I think of the little shop in the mall. That's for me, that's where.
Or alternatively, we could use the word device.
Yeah, a digital interactive wayfinding device, something like that. I don't know.
You want to do device/kiosk?
Yes.
Just in case.
Just for clarification, because I guess there's a little bit of a concern I have that I don't want this to be a sense like we are creating this ordinance specifically for Ike, that we are doing it for a category of a kind of thing, and that we understand that that kind of thing has different variations, but this is an example of a variation of that.
Yes, Metro already has digital advertising in bus shelters in other parts of Los Angeles.
But to my point of view, this is not digital advertising that we are ordinance. We're talking about a wayfinding that happens to have advertising as a way to fund it, but it's the wayfinding is the primary reason.
Yes, I mean, our purpose in bringing this forward is for the public and community service information. What pays for the program, to the questions asked during the study session, is the advertising.
Yeah, and that's a kind of, I guess, the clarification I was looking for.
Would we be comfortable with just the word terminal instead, or I don't know?
I think Mr.
Ramirez looks like he has something to add.
Yeah.
Actually, I can add to that. If the council's comfortable with changing the definition for wayfinding kiosk or kiosk as an interactive digital kiosk or similar device, that would be able to resolve, I think, the conflict of it limiting to just a kiosk.
I'm fine with that, and quite frankly, I don't even mind kiosk, just given the definition of that, and given that Metro also uses that definition. I think the important defining divider for us is making sure that we are, whatever we write, keeps in line that we're talking about these small public right-of-way things and nothing that allows for the billboards, the other things, and that's why I asked the question of what else could possibly fall into that, but it's very clear that it's just smaller devices.
Yeah, I guess, and to me, to follow up on that, I'm also want to make sure that we're not inadvertently leaning the way to allowing digital advertising in, just kind of directly, and that this is specifically about wayfinding, a way to have public wayfinding, digital public wayfinding access, not a way to open up for ads. So that's kind of like what I just wanted to confirm. Yeah.
Councilmember Anthony.
Sorry, and just to get into it, on the definition of kiosk, you use the word kiosk in his definition, so it's kind of like snake eating its own tail. So I would recommend we don't use the word kiosk to define what a kiosk is. That's just my...
I'd be comfortable with anything so long as it's really clear that it's a wayfinding device of some kind.
To the vice mayor's point, I think I'm okay with that because the goal is for us as a municipal entity, wayfinding devices, not digital advertising devices.
Right. And in the current definition on page 2, it is the kiosk or device would have a primary purpose of providing wayfinding services, public information, and other messaging selected by the city.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
So that gives us complete power to what goes in there. We identify what goes in there and we can take it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That was my question.
Well, just to circle back on, just on the definitions, under wayfinding kiosk or kiosk, it says an interactive digital kiosk installed in the public right-of-way. And so my problem is you have the word kiosk defining it. So if you just change the word kiosk to device.
Yeah, we could say an interactive digital device installed. We'll take kiosk out of the definition.
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Perfect.
Clarification.
Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Wonderful.
Good. Don't want a loophole.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, questions about the definition and or history of the word kiosk? Kiosk. Anybody else? No? Okay. By all means, go for it.
With pleasure. I'd like to make a motion to introduce an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Burbank establishing Article 11, wayfinding, what did we say?
Device.
Device, thank you. I didn't know if he made any changes at the end. In Chapter 3, Title 7 of the Burbank Municipal Code, amending Section 1002, Signs and Advertising, Structure, Regulation of Article 10, Chapter 1, Title 10 of the Burbank Municipal Code, and finding of categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, C Class 1, 15303, Class 3, 15304, Class 4, and 15305, Class 5.
Second.
Great.
Wow,
we
that
have
was a mouthful.
We have a motion and a second. Let's take a vote.
Councilmember Anthony?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Absolutely.
Councilmember Rosati?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Takahashi?
Yes.
And Mayor Perez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Motion passes 5-0.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right.
for answering all our questions.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. And thanks to staff, Ms. Pageant.
I want to go back and watch the video and see how many times the word kiosk was said
Right.
tonight.
Kiosk, chaos, device, wayfinding, digital wayfinding device. All right, we only have a couple things left. Now we will hear council comments, including reporting on council committee assignments, attendance in conferences, regional meetings, and community events. Who would like to go first? Okay, Councilmember Anthony.
Yeah, I can go. So on December 1st, a few of us were there. The mayor presented the key to the city to Ross Benson, and I'm sure she's going to talk a little bit about that when she goes. But it was such a lovely surprise. He literally did not know. They like snuck him in here under false pretenses. It was fantastic, and all of his friends and colleagues were snuck into the room as well. So it was great. It was really great. 2 days later, I attended with all of you the memorial service for our K-9 officer Spike. I was astonished at the number of folks who showed up from outside of Burbank. Apparently, and I didn't know this till that day, the K-9 officers community is very close-knit. It's a very small number of folks who do this work, and they mostly know each other. So we had K-9 units from all around the county, I think even Ventura, show up and give their condolences and appreciate the work they had done. So that was a great ceremony.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Who would like to go next? Councilmember Mullins?
Yes, on December 1st, as Councilmember Anthony said, I attended the presentation for Ross. Go Ross, did a good job. It was really well deserved. I also attended the memorial service for Officer Spike, very touching and honoring him. You have to watch it, or be there to really know how it felt. The same evening, I attended the Burbank Armenian Association Holiday Business Mixer. Lots of people, most of us were there. I want to thank them for continuing to support the community and hold a mixer for everybody to get together. On December 4th, I attended the SCAG Transportation Committee meeting. And on December 5th, I attended the Burbank Chamber of Commerce Holiday Mixer. It was packed at the Capitol Grill. It was a very successful, well-attended event. Saturday, we had the Mayor Tree Lighting Ceremony. Great job, Mayor. And we managed to turn the switch on, and that worked. And it was like, what if it doesn't go on? So what do we do? But it did work. Santa was so cute, Mr. and Mrs. Santa, and of course the chipmunks. Oh, they're adorable. I have my pictures. The same evening, okay, I'll skip that. Then on December 8th, I attended the Burbank Tennis Center Christmas party. And I do want to give really a shout out to Steve Starleaf and Derek and his amazing team for really putting this event on to support the autism group, the also activities, recreation, and care for individuals with autism, and Bridge Community Resource. So all these three different groups were there celebrating the holidays. They had a ton of gifts for them just to for the holidays and to make it joyful for them. So kudos to Steve and Derek and the rest of the team. They did a really good job. And that same morning, ran over here to City Hall where I went to the landfill tour. So even though I've been here forever, that was my first time to take the tour, and I was very impressed, Mr. City Manager. I thought I'm going to see piles of trash up there. and I saw a pile of dirt, and I was like, where's our trash? They do such an amazing job to cover everything right away, where you don't feel like you're standing on all the trash that we were actually standing on. So thank you to Public Works Department for taking me there and getting the tour. And that was it. Busy week.
Thank you, Councilmember Mullins. Councilmember Rosati.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Wednesday, December 3rd, I also attended the Memorial for Spike, and like you said, people came from far and wide, and it was very touching and very impressive. I think on very short notice, I think staff did a great job of setting that ceremony up. That night, I went to the Burbank Armenian Association Holiday Business Mixer, and it was their their fifth anniversary, so congratulations to them and all the good work they do in our community. And then Friday, December 5th, with the mayor, I was at the Job Connect ceremony. Some of those folks went through the program, heard some great stories, and what a really great program for our community. A lot of people taking advantage of it. They actually had to turn many, many people away. And then that night, attended the Burbank Chamber of Commerce Holiday Mixer at the Capitol Grill. That was very well attended. Not even enough room to move, but it was very well attended. Saturday, December 6th, all of us attended the mayor's tree lighting ceremony. Parks and Rec did such a great job of setting that up for the community. Santa was there and the Chippendales, and it was very, very well received by the kids in our community. Kids of all ages. And then that night, I attended the BPOA annual holiday party. And then Monday, December 8th, I also attended the Burbank Tennis Center Christmas party, where they give out gifts for acing autism and BCR, and they really do an amazing job at the tennis center, keeping people included in our community and finding ways for them to participate, and it just touches my heart. They did such a great job, and everyone was so happy to be there. So good, kudos to them.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor Takahashi.
All right. On December 1st, 3 o'clock, as with most of you, I was at the Key to the City presentation for Ross. And I don't know if I've seen Ross speechless like that before. I didn't see him cry. I just saw him like he was frozen, like he didn't know what to say. Wow. And then that evening, I attended the Burbank Sister City Committee meeting, and I finally had a chance to thank them for sending me to Korea. So that was really great. I got to meet the kids and the chaperones who are going to go to Korea. So I kind of gave them a little preview, and they're so excited. And then on the 2nd, I took a tour of our recycling center. And I hadn't done a tour of our recycling center since my kids were small. So it was really neat to go behind the scenes and stuff. And so for those who have not yet done it, I highly recommend it. And what I forgot, but I remembered, is that it's not a recycling center. It's actually a distribution center. It's a sorting and distribution center. And so it's a little bit of a misnomer. I learned a lot about how we sort through all of our stuff and get it sold and out the door to other places to get actually recycled. Then on the 3rd, at 7:15 in the morning, I participated in the Edison Elementary bike bus, where there were about 15, 20 kids and their families, all wearing little yellow vests. And we started at Chandler and Catalina, and we biked around the neighborhood, picked up a bunch of other bikes, and then we went to Edison. It was so cute, and I was so happy to see so many kids. We took up the whole lane. It was great. And then at 11 o'clock that day, the memorial service for Spike, and share all the sentiments that was shared here. Very emotional, great ceremony. And then that evening, the Burbank Armenian Association holiday party. Then on the 6th, in the afternoon, I attended a new business ribbon cutting, Hollywood Elite Gymnastics. And this looks like a great facility for those who are interested in their kids or adults signing up for gymnastics. It's right by the airport. And then that evening, the mayor's tree lighting ceremony. Super fun. I was actually wondering if Santa and Mrs. Claus was going to start rapping. I was, because 2 years ago they did. They rapped, and they were going to, like, okay, here we go. I'm like, okay. But they didn't rap, but they did do a call and repeat, and that was super fun. They almost did. Maybe they kind of sort of quasi-rapped, yeah. It was quite the show. And then on the 8th, I also attended the Tennis Center's Christmas party to see so many neurodivergent folks and their support crew there. And I just felt really happy. So it's a really nice time. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And did I miss anybody before I? Okay. So on Monday, December 1st, it was my absolute honor to present Ross Benson with the key to the city. He had no idea. I think it's the first time I've caught Ross in a surprise. Yeah. And I'm really grateful to Matt, his son, and for our own Jonathan Jones for helping me sneak around and plan that. It's the first time Ross did not know what was going on in Burbank. Couldn't have picked a better recipient. On Wednesday, December 3rd, I attended the memorial service for Spike with everybody on council. It was probably the toughest speech I've ever given in my life. And I'm just truly thankful to Sergeant Feckety and everybody over there who helped put it together. It was a good event. And again, my condolences to Officer Salas and his entire family. And then at 6 p.m., I attended the youth board on a much lighter note, and I welcomed and helped swear in our new members on the youth board. So excited and excited to be their liaison for another year, hopefully. And then I also attended the Burbank Armenian Association Holiday Business Mixer, had the honor of presenting them with a certificate for 5 years of their existing, and I'm really grateful to them and all the work that they do. On Friday, December 5th, along with Councilor Rosati, I attended the Job Connect ceremony for cohort number 6. It is also probably the 5th one that I've spoken at. Myself, I got the privilege to do them while I was the vice mayor, and it's probably the thing I'm going to miss the most. They're wonderful folks, and everybody who goes there is really putting themselves out there. It's a wonderful program, and they were incredibly grateful for council putting forward the funding this year so that we wouldn't lose that. And then, that same day, I got to speak on a panel with the California Latino Legislative Caucus for their policy summit. So it was a great panel. There were representatives like Julian Castro, who was our former HUD secretary, state senators from Nevada, and the chair of the Latino coalition, the National Latino Coalition. So it was a great chat about what we're doing policy-wise for Latinos from the local to the federal level. So it was very interesting, available online if any of y'all are interested. And I got to share what Burbank is doing, what we're doing in the small local level. Very intimidating for me. And then on Saturday, December 6th, Mayor's tree lighting ceremony with all of you. I hope you all had a great time with Chip and Dale. They were wonderful, and wonderful way to kick off the holiday season. And I was sad to miss the BPOA annual holiday party, but I had to make it to Chip and Dale. Sorry. That is all I have. Okay. Now is the time for the introduction of additional agenda items. Do the members of the council have any items to introduce? Councilmember Anthony.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the interest of protecting jobs in the city of Burbank, I'm requesting a first step report on the feasibility of commencing litigation to stop any acquisition of Warner Brothers Studios on the basis of, but not limited to, antitrust violations.
Thank you. Do you got what you need? Awesome. All right. Anything else? No. Merry Christmas. Let's see. Okay. We now adjourn the meeting in Sal Moreno's memory to Monday, December 15th, 2025 for the City Council reorganization meeting at 10 a.m. in the City Council chamber right here, 275 East Olive Avenue, 2nd floor. For the last time this year, thank you, Burbank, and good night.